theory was that having won his 5th title, Michael Schumacher might not have the same fire in his belly. Yeah, right.
Can he go faster than brother Ralph? Here we go, we're going to find out. Out of that last corner, blisteringly fast there, and Michael takes pole. Michael Schumacher takes pole position.
The Schufosi are out in force today, and it's not just to cheer Michael on, as kid brother Ralph joins him in an all-German front row in their home Grand Prix.
Clearly, Michael was better today. I hope not tomorrow, we'll find out.
The man going for his 6th pole in a row just couldn't manage it yesterday. But Giancarlo Fisichella went from this to this yesterday to place his Jordan on the 3rd row and equal his best grid position of the season. Today, all Germany expects success, although after the dramas of France, Rubens Barrichello believes he has a point to prove. And Kimi Räikkönen doesn't want to dwell on his mistake for too long either. This man doesn't make mistakes too often though, and a win today will equal the record for wins in one season. Just one more record for the Schumacher historians. Yes, Michael Schumacher has more records than HMV, and if you've only ever had CDs in your collection, then you won't get that joke. Jonathan Green, of course, is old enough to have bought records, 78 RPM most of them. And Jonathan, having won the title in France, great place for Michael to celebrate, isn't it?
Oh, it's perfect, and of course everybody predicted that it would be here that he'd take the title. Doesn't matter really. He's got the title, and well, it doesn't get much better. It's going to be a wunderbar, according to the Germans. They've been partying all night, I hear, shouting "Shoo me" through the forests. They finally staggered out of the forests to take their place in the grandstands, and 150,000 fans here to celebrate the Germans and, more importantly, Michael Schumacher with his brother alongside him.
Yes, his brother alongside him. Do you subscribe to the theory that one or both back off when it's a Schumacher versus a Schumacher?
Don't believe a word of it. It's not, just doesn't happen in racing. And I mean, you know, Ralf Schumacher, as I said yesterday, I'm so impressed with the guy because he's had to live under this mantle of Michael for so long, and he's not going to hold back at all.
Well, it's good to know. They didn't hold back in the Porsche Super Cup race. In fact, there was plenty of incident, which is the polite way of putting it. Do you expect the same in the big one?
Absolutely, for the simple reason that this is a new track, and although they've had two days to actually get used to it and find their braking points and so on, they haven't raced it. And now they're all thinking to themselves, I reckon I could do that. And they're not keeping, you know, they're keeping very quiet and they're keeping their thoughts to themselves. But they're all going to try it on the first lap where they think they can go faster and where they think they can overtake.
Nicely set up. One thing this new circuit has given us is plenty of brake-locking, tyre-smoking action. Sounds like a Pepsi commercial. Nowhere more so than at turn 12.
One thing that was quite surprising was a lot of drivers were making mistakes at turn 12, Ajip curve, which is the one coming back into the stadium, a corner you've all driven many, many times before. Why do you think that was?
It's the first corner of the old circuit, and it's very narrow compared to anything else. Also, I don't know why, but as soon as you brake and turn in there, you think you can see the curb, but it's not. I don't know what it is. It's really, really strange. And then when you actually get to the curb, you're on top of it. So you always run a lot wider there than you expect.
But that's particularly surprising because for the first time you're able to arrive in the stadium section with some downforce. In the past you couldn't have it for speed out the back. I presume the car would be stuck to the track through here.
Obviously we're running more downforce, you know, it makes us want to push harder. And as I said, it's a really, really strange, I don't know why. It seems very different than last year. You think you can see the curb on the initial turn and you think you can see the exit, but when you actually get there, you're a lot wider than you think you were. So I think that's why there's been a lot of people running wide there.
After of the corner, we have a curb and it's very dirty. It's very dirty there, so it's very easy to go on the grass. And if you touch the grass, so it's very possible to crash there. So it's not very good to have a lot of dirt part in the outside there, but it's like that. A lot of driver has a problem today.
Sure, but you're one of the drivers who's never raced on the old circuit, so you're not used to this corner. But for the other drivers, they're arriving with more downforce than they've ever had before, but they also seem to have a problem. Was that down to the gravel?
I think yes, because you have the curb, and after the curb you have the gravel, so it's really dangerous there, that part, and is easy to go off. So I never drove in the old Rockenheim, but this time now looks really strange, that corner.
It's somehow
seem to be more difficult this year. I don't know why, but I think it's simply that you think you're so slow and compared to the years before that you forget a bit the braking and you have to get used to the new rhythm in the circuit.
Some drivers said perhaps it was maybe just a bit dirty there today, and if you ran over the curb you go touch the gravel straight away, or is that not the case?
Well, it was slightly dirty, but that wasn't the reason for most of the errors we saw there today.
Yeah, it's quite bumpy. It seems the car was bottoming out quite a lot there. I had a big moment there at the beginning of the second session, but it's good fun.
I think the entry's a lot wider, and it's because it's not wider on the exit, the natural line is you have to turn in later than you would have done before because it's narrower on the exit. And I think people are still got in their heads that it hasn't changed on the entry, so you run a lot wider on the exit.
So where are the places to make up time on this new circuit, and which sectors will catch you out? Local lad Nick Heidfeld takes us round the 4.5-kilometre Hockenheim ring.
Hi, I'm Nick Heidfeld and I'm going to show you my qualifying lap here in Hockenheim. So last part of the circuit, preparing for the start of the lap, trying to have a good exit for a straight line. And next corner is a pretty quick right-hander, quite tight. Usually you get some snap oversteer by taking the curb. That looked a bit better because I was in the T-car, was more understeering. Here luckily the guy pulls over. Hard braking, and then here on the exit you don't go completely to the outside. You stay a bit on the right to be flat around that little left-hander to gain a lot of speed on this long straight here, which should give you a good overtaking possibility hopefully for the race. Then very hard braking down into first gear. A bit of traction problems here, which you probably hear from the TC. Next right-hander is easy flat. And now it's a quite tricky bit, quite really part of the circuit. Clips the curb here on the left. Here car's quite nervous in general. Take a bit the exit curb, and now it's back into the stadium, a bit similar to the old circuit. Very quick here. Use a lot on the exit. You saw some cars going off. Into Sachs corner. Have a late apex there. Try to have a good exit. That's easy flat, and now the last two corners, which are quite tricky for understeer, which you can see here. And then early on throttle again. Use the exit a lot, and yeah, just made it into the top 10 then. So that was a lap with me on Hockenheim, my qualifying lap. I hope you enjoyed it.
A real game of cat and mouse yesterday during qualifying. Long periods of inactivity. Und then questioning his motivation, tee-hee.
Yeah, he shouldn't he shouldn't question it really. And I tell you what, he only needs the motivation of Montoya because, sure, you're 5-time world champion, but for these drivers, they want to be the fastest. That's all they really care about. The records, as you've heard him say in the past, he doesn't care that much. He wants to be the fastest man out there, and he's done it yesterday.
Well, fast this weekend so far has been Olivier Panis. Indeed, BAR have been flying this weekend, and Olivier joins us live now. Thanks for your time, Olivier. So what is it this weekend? Is it you or something Honda have done?
Well, is the team working, to be honest, but I feel very confident when I start Friday with the car and also with the new circuit. I learn very quickly and I'm quite confident with the car. And at the end of the day, sure, the Honda evolution help us a lot because all the Honda car is going quite well this weekend.
Olivier, Jonathan Green here. You saying after the warm-up that obviously the car feels good, but you still feel it's going to be a very tough race. Obviously that Honda power is doing you some good. Why do you feel it's going to be a tough race? Is it because it's a new circuit for everyone?
Yeah, first of all, because it's the new circuit and we have just one line because the second line is very dust, is easy to make a mistake. Second thing is very, very warm, and I think so Bridgestone tire is quite well this weekend, but with the hot temperature we are a little bit worse, but I think so we arrive to manage that. And after that, the new engine, everybody think is okay, and I really hope so.
Olivier, of course, Jenson Button has signed for BAR next year, but David Richards has been at pains to express his respect and admiration for you. Do you know what your situation is next season?
Well, to be honest, I continue to speak with David, but I'm quite very confident for my future because I know very well the job in Formula One, and don't worry about me. I'm very confident for next year.
Glad to hear it. Olivier, thanks very much. Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Well, that qualifying session we witnessed just before our chat with Olivier was certainly tremendous stuff. Here's what they all had to say about it afterwards.
Together with Ferrari, we haven't won together at all down here in Hockenheim. It would be nice if it works out tomorrow, but a long race to go. We try everything, see what happens.
The whole weekend was easier for me than previous weekends. I like to be on that circuit. I don't know why, but I love the way it is. It's actually, for me, it's the best circuit I've ever driven on.
Which is surprising, bearing in mind how good you and the car were on the old Hockenheim last year. And of all the driver-car combinations you would say would not like this new circuit, it would be you, based on what you did last year.
Well, it's very strange. I was a bit, let's say, scared a bit, you know, how tiny it looked. But the way the corners are designed, they open up to the exit, and it's just... yeah, a nice flow on the circuit, and it's enjoyable for myself and as well for the car.
Hockenheim became a circuit that it's all about compromises. It's very, very difficult to make the car work for everywhere. So that's why you see a lot of offs. And but I'm quite happy. I mean, the qualifying, I felt that the car was so good. I made a personal error into the last the penultimate corner, which cost me really a precious time, because I could have done it.
The car wasn't very good this morning, and when we went to qualifying, I hadn't, you know, through that corner the car was always oversteer and went in, and just the front didn't really grip at all and went straight on.
Now, we heard on the radio that you were asking Patrick Head for some advice about how to go faster. Did he give you a serious response?
No, he actually came to me and said, "Oh, just try to keep it in the black bit." Before, when I came in, he said it's a bit quicker if you keep it in the black bit, and that was it really.
The last race at Magny-Cours, you were 5 laps away from possibly your first win. Don't want to remind you of that, but the team has talked about maybe having the right tyres for the race because it's going to be hot today. And do you think you can get close to having a crack at the Williamses and the Ferraris?
Sure, with the Williams I think so we can be very close to beat them. Maybe don't know about the Ferrari, they seem to be very quick. But we will see tomorrow actually.
It's been a good day, completely the opposite as the last Saturday. I had a bad accident, felt a little bit of headache and a pain on the neck for the next 2 days, but after that I felt okay, no problem at all. And already yesterday when I went into the car in the first run, I was confident, I was quick. And today it's been a great day for us, and I'm very pleased.
So the usual players at the very front of the grid, but plenty of variety as we look down it. With just about 40 minutes to go now, let's try and look ahead, or you look ahead, I'll just ask the questions, as to how it might pan out.
Well, all I can say is that I am so excited about the start of this one. I've got my safety belt on here, the audience can't see it, because this grid, well, we talk about computer simulations and you know, what everybody expects from this race. And this is going to be a human factor race, I think. You can throw it all out the window. This is a new track these guys want to race, and with Michael and Ralph alongside each other, we know what Ralph's like in starting position, so that's going to be an interesting first corner, plus Montoya, of course. Barrichello has that spare car. He's got the, you know, reason to think now that he can go for it, and almost you've got to feel in Barrichello's case, he has to beat Michael now. He's now the #1 driver, if you get the spare car and all the rest of it, so he now feels that way. Raikkonen's done very well in qualifying, but as you can see, Bridgestone right up there, and I think that is going to be the key factor. And listening to all the conversations we've had, Bridgestone very confident, and it looks as though Michael and Rubens will go on that harder compound. A little bit further down, Jensen's struggling. He's still got a lot of problems with that car, and thinks likewise that the race will be tough. And further down, I can't see anybody coming through. Perhaps Irvine is going for the softer Michelin, might come through. The other person we just didn't mention him, of course, Jacques Villeneuve. He's due a chance to get some decent results, and with Olivier qualified as well as he has, I think we might just see the best out of Jack. We saw some moments there by him, hit and miss sometimes, but I'd love to see Jacques Villeneuve doing what he does best, which is really throwing it around a new circuit, and I think he might take advantage of the fact that he is very good at that kind of thing, which is learning quickly and taking risks where everybody else will be thinking about it but not necessarily taking them.
Yes, I can confirm that Jonathan has his safety belt on and a spare tyre too. Peter Windsor joins us now. Peter, there's something about your job being threatened that certainly galvanises people. You may have heard our chat with Olivier Panis there. Nice outline from him. Don't worry about me, he said.
Yes, I thought that was very endearing, because we are worried about Olivier. He's a very nice guy and he deserves his place on a Formula One grid, even if he is perhaps approaching the autumn of his career in terms of age. But he's driving beautifully. And whilst the show's been going on, I've been trying to think about what it is that's wrong about BAR at the moment, or about this whole situation that they're in. The reality is they don't have a driver problem at the moment. The problem all along has been the car and the engineering of the car, as we were talking about yesterday. And there's nothing that a very good chassis and engine wouldn't put right. Olivier Panis and Jacques Villeneuve quite capable of winning Grand Prix, as they've both proved. And so this is no way a criticism of Jensen. In my view, this is the wrong time to be changing drivers. BAR don't need to be doing that. David Richards was talking yesterday about taking a 4-year view and he wants a younger driver. But I don't buy that at all. I think a quick driver's a quick driver, regardless of when you put him in the car. And you don't need 4 years with a team in order to be able to win races.
Peter, just for the moment, we'll cut away to an opening ceremony. Of course, this is the first race, the very opening of the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg. Bernie Eccleston performing the honours with Boris Becker, who appears to have been at every sporting event that's taken place this summer globally. But anyway, the chaps are very happy with that. You can hear the klaxons going. This crowd would have left their seats after warm-up with beach towels on them, and then nip back, of course, to find their seats reserved. And they paid a few bob for them, so I suppose the beach towels were worth employing. Petey, we haven't actually asked you for your thoughts on this new circuit. 2 days it's been in existence, despite the fact they just opened it. What's the general reaction to this track?
The general reaction is that all the drivers like it. We heard Eddie Irvine saying how boring he thought the old circuit was. A lot of them thought that the old circuit was dangerous. And I think all the drivers are towing the party line, which is that it's great to be on a circuit in which you come round more often in front of the crowd. It's more of a state-of-the-art Grand Prix circuit. We heard Pedro de la Rosa, however, saying yesterday he does miss the old Hockenheim. It had character, it had emotion and feel, and the new one, you know, could be Barcelona, could be Manicourt, and I think he's got a point. But that's a very purist point. I think in general everybody's welcome this circuit, and it is quite original in its design. It would have been quite easy for the organisers and the designers to come up with a really Mickey Mouse slow circuit with lots of areas where the cars can crash into each other. But the reality is that long left-hand effective straight is a very unusual feature, and all credit to them, I think, to have come up with something that is quite original.
Peter, Jonathan, one thing that stands out for me just looking in the background, it's so much hotter than it has been for the last couple of days. Will the heat play a major factor? We heard about how a lot of the guys setting up were saying when the temperature changed, certainly the track temperature changed, you know, the balance that they got right went out the window. Will it be a case now? How was the warm-up in that respect? Because I know it was quite hot for that, and it looks as though it's going to be even hotter for the race.
Well, yes, it's a very good point, Jonathan. Pat Simmons we spoke to just after the warm-up, and he was kind of surprised that the Michelin runners, the bulk of whom are on the softer compound, were not quicker in the warm-up, because it was actually quite hot this morning. It's much hotter now, and it's unbelievably hot, in fact. So one's got to assume that the soft compound Michelins are going to be okay. Certainly the hard compound Michelin, this is great news. Ron Dennis told us yesterday that he was basically planning for tomorrow in choosing that hard tyre. We know that Williams are also on that hard tyre, so they must be very pleased that it's hot. Olivier Panis, I thought, sounded kind of dubious about how hot it was. That's because he is on the softer of the two Bridgestones. The hard Bridgestones have only been chosen by the Ferraris, as far as I know, and I think that could be a very telling factor. Maybe the soft Bridgestone is going to be too soft in this weather, but that won't affect Ferrari because they're on the harder tyre.
We'll let you go there because it's soon time for you to do your stuff on the grid. In the meantime, time is starting to run out if you want to enter our competition. And remember, this isn't just any old competition.
Massive, and when the cars come into the stadium for the first time, no doubt the traditional fireworks will go off, and it is one of the most incredible places to watch a motor race of any description, Formula One, DTM, or whatever takes place at the Hockenheimring.
So it will be an all-German front row of the grid for them to celebrate. Michael and Ralph will head the field away. 4 German drivers in the German Grand Prix this year. And in fact, in terms of numbers of drivers from different countries, Britain and Germany matched at the most at the moment. There are 4 Brits and 4 Germans in Formula One at the moment. So a contest between them, but I have to say the Germans are doing better in qualifying than the Brits did, because it wasn't a great session for our Brits. David Coulthard ending up 9th place on the grid, Button down in 13th place, Irvine 16th and McNish 17th. Probably one of our worst, actually, of the whole season.
Well, the German drivers are particularly strong right now. The Schumacher brothers in particular are doing an outstanding job. Michael winning the World Championship. Of course, Ralph winning in Malaysia, looking for his second win of the year. And Nick Heidfeld looking for a maiden win. And, well, look at that. The Ferrari dedicated the spare car to Rubens Barrichello. And Barrichello this morning had a run both in the spare car. He had 7 laps in the spare car, 9 laps in his race chassis, and hoping to put behind him the trauma of the French Grand Prix 1 week ago and the sort of slightly smaller trauma of Silverstone, the British Grand Prix, when likewise, as the cars were due to fire up and go off on their final reconnaissance lap, they couldn't get the thing to start up.
Temperature has risen to about 28 degrees air temperature, although the track temperature is still recording around the 30-degree mark, interestingly enough. David Richards and Eddie Jordan having what looks like a fairly frank conversation.
Well, they've been having a few conversations. We've caught them on camera. We've got our lip-reading experts available to catch every word that they say. Sadly, that clip was just too short to get a real insight on what was going on between Messrs Jordan and Richardson.
Well, there is Jenson Button, who will be driving for Mr. Richards next year. The deal done, of course, after the last Grand Prix last week. And now he knows that he has a seat for the next, well, in possible likelihood, 4 years. So a long-term deal in prospect with BAR Honda. And David Richards speaking to us over the course of the weekend, obviously delighted about that and really sees it as a tremendous opportunity to take this young, talented British driver and make him a fundamental part of the team as they develop over the next few seasons.
Yes, and another very important key element in this deal is that Jenson Button's association with Williams BMW team is now over. That final 2 years has been obliterated, so he is exclusively BAR Honda's property. And there's a chance for Jenson Button to really knuckle down, to deliver on the potential, on the ability he has, continue this process of learning and focus on being a Grand Prix driver who wants to win Grand Prix, who wants to be a world champion. We have heard him say, yeah, I want to be a world champion. Well, articulation will not get the job done. It takes a lot of hard work, and I think he will find over his next 4 years there will be plenty of hard work available to him to get accustomed to.
Just 2 minutes to go until the pit lane opens. And so the drivers are now preparing to get out in their cars. Remember, the spare car for Ferrari, this time set up for Barrichello, so you'll see more jumping around from Rubens than we normally expect to see, and Michael Schumacher will just have to make sure that his race car is in fine fettle. Out around the track, various opportunities to find something else to do other than just watch a motor race. They reckon, according to the track information I was looking through earlier on, something like 125,000 fried or cooked sausages will be consumed over the course of this weekend. If you put them end to end, that'll go 14 miles, they reckon.
Don't worry about the sausages. What I'm concerned about are the bottles of beer. Germans enjoy their beer. They camp out in the forest, although that's not been quite as easy this year because of the circuit changes. Nevertheless, and Richard Fairbrass here joining the McLaren team in the garage.
Any sport, anywhere. For £50 you can book right through to Japan in October. So call 08702 418 111 to book your pass to the rest of this season's races. That's 08702 418 111. Or wait till the end of the race and just press the red button on your handset. 7 different winners in 7 years. That's the proud boast of the German Grand Prix. Will it be 8 in 8 after today? And here are the previous winners of the German Grand Prix, and they're a different bunch. Ralph won it last time, and you would have thought that he'd have liked the track retained. But he was saying earlier on he doesn't care. It's the best track he's raced on this year.
Ralph's looking very confident today, and I think it means that. I think he's got the setup he wants. This is the home Grand Prix. The problem, if you like, of his brother not winning the championship or not being decided yet is gone out the window, so he can feel confident of going for it, and the fans won't turn against him were he to get into a bit of a shenanigans with his brother. I think, you know, it's the most equal opportunity he's had to really show what he can do, and I don't think he cares what the track's like.
That's Peter Windsor, just getting his big hands. Oh no, it's not big hands, it's just a smaller version.
Looks very hot, and Peter was confirming that. A lot hotter than it's been. Very exciting in that respect. But just what the fans want. Beautiful, hot, scorching day.
And don't worry about me, says Olivier. He's first out.
Yeah, fascinating that. I thought that was very interesting because everybody seems to be worried about him. But, you know, you can't vote better than to qualify your best qualifying of the season and to out-qualify your teammate, and that teammate a former world champion at that.
We're going to get to the part of the circuit where that teammate, Jacques Villeneuve, said somebody could get killed this afternoon. He was talking about the wall that separates the racetrack from the drag racing track. And he says that if it gets tight there, somebody could get nudged off. Now, Jacques has been coming out with spectacular quotes of late. Is that just another one?
To be honest, yeah. Throughout his career, he tends to be a little bit, and I'm not at all criticising his thoughts. He should know better than anybody else in the world. But he does tend to, he calls a spade, as we say in England, and, you know, it's a little bit over the top saying that. The safety is paramount now in Formula One. And when they redesign a circuit like this, they take every measure possible. And it is right for drivers like Jacques Villeneuve and Michael Schumacher to make those criticisms. And I don't think they're making them because they actually believe it to be so. They want to make people aware that there are possibilities that there could be further improvements, rather than as dramatic. But you have to almost say a headline that, something that is catchy like that, for people to actually identify and look at it. If he didn't say anything, nobody bothered.
Well, let's cross to Peter Windsor now. He's with Ross Brawn, who appears to have taken a fashion tip from John Watson.
Ross, I just wanted to say, nice hat.
Yes, yeah, well, Billy was giving them out for free, so I couldn't turn it down. So.
You don't have Michael's signature on it yet. How much is that going to cost?
I don't think it costs me anything, but you'll be in trouble if it does.
What do you think about the ambient and the track temperatures? Good news?
It was pretty much as we expected. Well, forecasters got it right this time, and they said it was going to be very hot on Sunday, so as I mentioned before, we went for the harder tyre because we were worried about today, so we feel a little bit more comfortable with a harder tyre. We're going to have to be careful.
OK, well, Michael's out. We'll let you listen to what he's got to say. Thank you very much and good luck.
Looking very chic. And talking of things fashionable, what about Richard Fairbrass, the Right Said Fred singer? Bruce Jones is gassing with him, man.
Richard Fairbrass of Right Said Fred. A big Formula One fan. I see you're here with McLaren this weekend.
I really like machinery. I love machinery. It could be a combine harvester. I know, as long as there's machinery there, this is, I just find it so exciting. It's incredibly exciting.
But how much do you get to see? Because presumably you're on tour most of the year, and most of the time you have to watch it on television.
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, television is good in as much as you can watch the whole race. But you can't beat the atmosphere you get in the pits and the garage. It's just amazing. I mean, it's really exciting.
But also with the hundreds of thousands of people here, does it feel like one of your concerts?
Oh, yes. They make as much noise, too. But no, it's very exciting. I mean, you know, the commitment of these people to pay the money they paid, buy all the gear, the hats and the flags, you know, this is... without them, this sport wouldn't happen. So in a way, they're the most important people here.
Anyhow, thanks. Good to see you. Glad to have you here.
Richard Fairbrass, I know him actually, but there isn't time to go into that. Now then, Peter Windsor has been staying around the Ferrari area. He was with Ross Brawn. He's now having a look at the cars themselves.
I am indeed. It's a great atmosphere here, partly because Michael's on the pole, partly because it's the German Grand Prix, and partly because Rubens in that spare car. Michael's actually just gone through for the second time, so that's a sign that he's pretty happy with the car. He's getting in 2 or 3 laps. Normally he would come in, maybe switch to the spare as he did in Manicourt. He's very good at doing that, Michael, but he's just going up for another lap. Rubens, meanwhile, they're waiting for Rubens now. It looks like he's going to come in, and seeing he's got the prerogative of the spare car, maybe he will do a Michael and switch, so I think we should wait and see.
If Rubens gets the choice...
Wrong, though. That was Rubens who went through, and here's Michael. Sorry about that. Very nice. Laying a bit of rubber in the pit stop area so he can get a little bit more grip. They switch off the traction control to do that and give himself a little bit more grip. Michael, of course, on the pole has no problem with that off the line, but we saw Ralf Schumacher this morning very sensibly trying to clean up the grid down the inside there, trying to give himself some more grip, and he actually managed to lay some rubber too after a spin, which was a very nice piece of work. So Ferrari, it's all hustle hustle and bustle, incredibly hot weather, and as Ross Brawn said, they're delighted, I think, that they managed to do their times on the harder of the two Bridgestones. If I had to take a bet now, I'd say that the hard Bridgestone is going to be a better race tyre than the hard Michelin, but the soft Michelin, I think, will be a better race tyre than the soft Bridgestone, if all that makes sense.
Oh, as ever it does, Peter. I just wondered if Rubens has the choice of two cars and Michael only one, the roles being reversed, does that mean Rubens has a better shot at reliability? Because it's certainly been Michael thus far that's had the reliable Ferrari.
Well, it's a very good point. I'm not sure that it actually works, but you would think that. I think the reality is if there's some sort of horrendous accident at the start and the race is stopped and both Ferraris are damaged, Rubens will be the guy that starts the race at this point. That's the advantage of having a spare car this late in the weekend. But in qualifying, for example, he could have jumped into the spare if he hadn't felt comfortable in the race car. But Rubens is coming in now and just checking the car. No, he's going to go for the lap as well. So they're pushing him back, laid some rubber. Now let's just wait and see what Rubens does, because they're going to push the car back into the garage, and it's this moment that the spare car mechanics get a bit excited, because their car might actually get a race. If we can just walk over a little bit to Rubens' car as it's being pushed back in. Now I'm looking at my watch now, it's 25 to 2, and you'd think that they'd be thinking, well, there's not a lot of time now before the pit lane closes, but Rubens, cool as ever, just sitting in the car, making a few comments to the engineer, and no sign that he's going to swap cars. He looks pretty comfortable with the way things are going. What he did then, I guess, was run in a set of tyres, and they're going to change tyres now. Very worn set of tyres he was on then, yes. They're going to put some slightly newer tyres on, I suspect. All drivers, as far as I'm aware, used their 3 sets in qualifying yesterday, so 4 sets that is, so there will be at least one stop in which they're going to be using a used set of tyres today. Most of them will try to start the race on a brand new set, so Rubens will be putting on used tyres now, and then as they set up for the Mation lap, they'll put on the new tyres.
Peter?
Jonathan?
Yeah, I wonder your feeling amongst the Ferrari team about how torn they are this weekend, because so much of their effort has been with Michael, and obviously Rubens has done a sterling job and has had the bad luck. Now the opportunity gives him that he's got the spare car, and kind of they're all going to get behind him. But we're at the German Grand Prix and Michael's on pole. It's a bit of a tough situation for them.
Well, it is and it isn't. I think that Rubens has had some great qualifying results this year. He, by his own admission, made a mistake yesterday on his best lap. So Rubens is pretty cool about that. Drivers do make mistakes. And I think at the moment in Ferrari, the atmosphere is, and we just got to move out a little bit, the atmosphere is, this is a motor race, let's try and win it. I don't think they're thinking about, well, Michael's won the championship now, it's Rubens' chance. It's pretty tense. We've got the German Grand Prix, and Ferrari want to finish 1-2. The only difference is they don't really mind which driver's in position 1 on this occasion.
Peter, thanks very much. I know you've got to nip across that pit wall before too long and have us chat with some of the chaps on the grid. Yeah, it will be interesting. He's got the choice of 2 cars. He presumably has got the focus of the team now that the other bloke has won just his 5th world title. And will he get away from the grid?
Well, we hope so. Gosh, do we hope so? Because he has had torrid time, and it's not fair, really, because I'd like to have seen him. He's desperate to show what he can do, and he has shown glimpses of it. Now, as I said, you know, the shackles are off, he can go for it. But I think Peter's right, you know, they just want a 1-2. And it's not Ferrari style to be nostalgic about it. They'll want to go for a 1-2. And then, if they're in that position, then they don't care who wins.
Maybe a difficult question, this, seeing as they've never raced on this circuit before. But how far back down the grid do you have to be to not have a chance of featuring on the podium?
Well, I hate to say it, but I've got a feeling it doesn't really matter this afternoon, because I've got a feeling that the first 3 corners are all possibilities. Well, certainly the hairpin, and certainly the first corner, and possibly Ajip again, the one that they've all been going off, could cause problems, and we could have a race stoppage. Don't want to predict that we're going to have a crash here, but I've just got a feeling. It's also the way that the circuit's been designed. It's wider in places that there are runoffs, and that's just a tease to a driver. If, you know, give them an inch, they'll take a mile, and I think that's a lot of what the thinking process is for these drivers. The first lap is going to be awesome, so let's hope there's not a restart, but I've got a feeling that, I don't know, even someone like Massa or Irvine, you know, if he keeps out of trouble, could actually be up there.
Keeping out of trouble is not something that Takuma Sato has managed very much this season, but it's fair to say that he's gradually improving, if that doesn't sound too patronising. Let's have a word with his manager now. Andrew Gilbert-Scott is with Bruce.
Andrew Gilbert-Scott, as Takuma Sato's manager, you must have a sense of anticipation for this race. He was 5th fastest in the warm-up this morning.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was actually extremely disappointed to qualify 12. He felt that he should have been in the top 10. So obviously the 5th this morning is really encouraging, and we just got to hope that he has a bit of luck. He's been pretty unlucky this year, I think. So we are hopeful, yeah.
But it's very, very close in the middle of the grid, a 10th here or there, and you can go back 1 or 2 rows. However, this morning, the Bridgestone tyres fill the top 6 places. The Honda engine is going from strength to strength, so it's up to Takuma to show that this new circuit provides overtaking.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other reason. He was delighted, obviously, coming to basically a new circuit, or half a new circuit. It means it's the same for everybody, which is, you know, again, he hasn't having to learn the circuit, or everybody's having to learn the circuit. So, yeah, I mean, he's optimistic, we're optimistic, and the engine seems to have been a big step forward. The tyres are obviously working well, so we, like I say, just hope we have a tiny bit of fortune go our way, and I just get a point or 2.
Exactly. Best of luck. Thank you very much.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya was going for his 6th pole in a row. He didn't make it, his only 4th, but that's still a share of the 2nd row. We'll be having a chat with him very shortly. Peter Windsor is on his way to meet him. In the meantime, we're joined live by Giancarlo Fisichella. Giancarlo, after the horrors of last week, not a bad bet, was it really, to put in your equal highest qualifying position. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a fantastic day yesterday. Drove very well, but there was even a good car. The overall package with a new engine, tires and chassis was good. So I'm very pleased and confident for today, even because this morning was good in the warm-up. So we'll see. It will be an interesting race.
Giancarlo, Jonathan Green here. We've just been talking and wondering about the start of this race. Obviously, no one's raced here before. You've never been one to slow to come forward, and I know you'll be looking for your typical start. But where can you expect? Will there be some surprises in terms of overtaking on this circuit in your own mind about where you think you might want to go?
Well, it's obviously the start is very important, and I like to keep my position. If it's possible, overtake some car, but it's going to be difficult. And then even it's quite difficult to be in the circuit during the race. Quite easy to make a mistake, so it will be very interesting.
Forward to it. Thanks for your time. Good luck today, Giancarlo. OK, Peter Windsor has made that move on Juan Pablo Montoya. Not many people get away with it, but he's done it. Here he is now.
As ever, you seem reasonably relaxed. Is Patrick reasonably comfortable the way things are going?
Yeah, I think so. I think the temperature is going to be a big issue in the race at the moment. And I think everybody's concerned about a bit of blistering and stuff like that. So it's going to be an interesting race.
Patrick was a bit cheeky yesterday, wasn't he, saying keep it on the dark stuff?
Yeah, it's a good friendly thing.
Well, best of luck, Juan. Thank you.
Well, live pictures here of dramatic scenes in the Ferrari pit. We think there's a problem. By the way he sprinted from the grid to the pit, it would seem that things weren't going as smoothly as you might have expected, or maybe you do expect them nowadays with Barrichello. He's had so much trouble at the start of the last 2 races. He got away with the one in Silverstone, not, of course, last time.
This morning, and we changed the whole electric system on the car, every loom, everything on it, and Jacques released the team to Olivier this morning, so it was then changed over to Olivier, and we did a couple of just to check everything was working perfectly. He went back to sit in the T-car in case it was, and now the T-car's being changed back for Jacques.
That's very confusing, but how do you decide which of the drivers gets the T-car? I can understand what happened this morning.
No, Jacques has actual position on the T-car, but he openly released it to Olivier this morning, which is very good of him.
OK, sounds like there's no problem. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Frantic scenes. This time the car's in the pit. Mind you, the other car has to be wheeled away, and there's just a little over a quarter of an hour to go. There is the other one being pushed to the sidelines. Now, he's been nipping in and out of these cars, so can we assume that they're both equally well set up?
He did 7 laps in this car in the warm-up and basically reported that everything was fine with that spare car. And this is, as I said, we're now seeing in action the advantage that Barrichello didn't have before when he was second to Mike, effectively. Now he's got that position. But what I still can't fathom this. They've won the world title in record time, but they can't get one of their cars to the grid. And it always seems to be this poor man Barrichello's car. He must be, I don't know what he must be thinking as he goes up on the warm-up lap. What do I have to do to get it right? And now, of course, his whole game plan, it just adds a psychological, a little bit more nervousness.
Oh, well, let's hear exactly what's going on then from the man who ought to know, Jean Todt, talking to Peter.
The car was obviously good onto the grid. What was the problem when Rubens got onto the grid?
We have a doubt on the upshifting.
OK, we heard that from Jean Todt, a doubt on the upshifting on the gear change. So that occurred on that lap onto the grid. And talk about great time. He has that spare car and he can now race that.
That's just amazing. If he didn't have the spare car, then he'd be out the race again, presumably.
Well, again, you ask the question, I mean, what must the other teams think when, they're working so hard to beat Ferrari, and yet Ferrari have what I would call, not a simple problem, obviously. They said, interesting words by John there, he said a doubt. And maybe that, what has happened before to Rubens, now he's got that option. But it didn't look as though it was his decision. It looked like it was the engineer's decision, and he was quite happily ready to get into that first car. But I'm just stunned that they can take one man to a world championship in world record time, and then the other man has to worry about whether the gear shift works.
You can understand if over the next 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so, Rubens is thinking, I wonder what's going to happen when I go for first gear and those lights go out. Anyway, shouldn't be a problem for the BAR team. They're flying this weekend. Olivier Panis in 7th position. This should be a happy David Richards with Bruce Jones. Just any minute now. Come on, David, smile for us.
What was that about?
We had an electrical glitch on Olivier's car this morning, and we changed the whole electric system on the car, every loom, everything on it. And Jacques released the T-card to Olivier this morning, so it was then changed over to Olivier, and we did a couple of outlaps just to check everything's working perfectly. He went back to sit in the T-car in case it wasn't, and now the T-car's being changed back for Jacques.
That's very confusing, but how do you decide which of the drivers gets the T-car? I can understand what happened this morning.
No, Jacques has a contractual position on the T-car, but he openly released it to Olivier this morning, which is very good of him.
Sounds like there's no problem. Thanks, David.
They come out with some great phrases, these Formula 1 guys. A contractual position on the T-car.
But it's an interesting comment because look at the way you were talking about the future, and Peter was talking about the future, having not to change drivers. Why should they change anything? In some ways, I disagree because you've seen it there. He's contractually able to have the T-car. It's not a situation David Richards likes, I would have thought. He wants control of that team. Right now, it sounds like Jacques Villeneuve's got full control of that team. He has the T-car, he has what he likes. And I think that the changes are being rung in, and Jensen's just the first one.
A little family snapshot of the Schumachers wishing one another good luck.
Yeah.
Just as long as you let me win, says Michael.
I mean, anybody who's got a brother or a sister, multiply it 1,000,000 times and take it to the most, highest level of sport there is, most technically difficult, the one that requires the most brain power, the most fitness and everything else, and then put your brother alongside you. And it does become personal. I don't care what you say. They're very polite and they're very good in the media not to have a pop at each other, but brothers against brothers, sibling rivalry, everybody knows about it. You don't have to put racing cars around it to work it out.
Well, my brother used to break all my cars, used to pull the tyres off them. I could never match them up again, but it's not something that's stuck with me. Now then, let's get more on the situation at Ferrari from Luca Colliani. He's with Bruce.
Luca Colliani, Ferrari press officer. A lot of drama just then for Rubens Barrichello. What's happening?
Rubens had a technical problem on the car in the out lap when he was going to the grid. We checked and we found that it was not possible to solve it in the remaining minutes on the grid. Then he jumped on the T-car, which was set for him since this race on for the end of the season.
So that was his first bit of luck, that it was his car today, and then he just had to beat the closing of the pit lane.
Yeah, we needed a bit of luck. That was he missed last race, so it's a compensation.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Luca.
Luca Colliani, Ferrari, telling it like it is, or almost like it is. They're very careful about what they say, Ferrari. In fact, every Formula 1 driver has a PR man standing alongside to check that everything they say is kosher. Now, there are no Jordans amongst those previous winners, but who knows what might happen here with Fisichella equaling his best grid position thus far. Here's Peter and Eddie Jordan.
Eddie, how are your two cars onto the grid? Are both drivers happy?
Well, we could do with it being a little cooler. I think that's the same for everybody.
It's going to be really tough on the tyres.
Except Ferrari, who are on the harder tyres, I think.
Well, Ferrari have a law unto themselves. It's a different race almost. But for us mortals, we have to look after the tyres here. We qualified on softs here this particular race to give us a better chance. And it paid off. Thankfully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to get through the race in a good condition. But the tyres will be a big issue here.
And engines in this heat.
Well, engines and also the braking. You're going from 327 kilometres, over 200 miles an hour, down into a deep hairpin where you come out of there exiting at 60 kilometres. So it's virtually hard braking from 200 miles an hour to zero each lap, and that is really killer on the brakes. So the brakes, the engine, and of course the tyres. And the driver fatigue is an issue as well here because it's incredibly hot.
How fit are your two drivers?
My slight concern would be for Giancarlo. He had such a big accident, you know, only 8 days ago. And I don't care what anyone comes back in fitness and that, there's always that little bit that you're just missing by such an impact. So we've asked him, and his physios, everybody have been monitoring to making sure that he builds up slowly. We're not over concerned, but it will be a thing that we will look at obviously throughout the race, and he will monitor it. He's going to be very delicate how he gets through the race.
Is he one of the drivers that likes to take on fluid during the race?
Well, they all do, and if they don't, it's silly because it's a matter of a physical environment. You lose so much in perspiration that unless you take on the added liquids, then obviously the body will become dehydrated, and we all know about the effects of that, mainly on the brain, and that affects the body, of course. So it's important to keep the body right up to the focus, and that's why you see most of the drivers, because they look after themselves, the quickest times are near the end of the race.
Thanks very much, Eddie. Good luck.
Thank you.
Minutes to go now until the start of the formation lap. Let's cross to the grid as it begins to clear and join Peter for a summary of what's happened so far today, Peter.
Well, all drama on the grid, as we saw. Rubens Barrichello really taking advantage of having that spare Ferrari for the first time, switching cars on the grid. Michael Schumacher, very calm, very cool, just wanted to be updated on what was going on. Ralf Schumacher, next to him, his younger brother, for the first time this year, hadn't wanted to do interviews. I think that's a good sign. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ralf actually take the lead of the German Grand Prix into the first corner. Juan Pablo, his usual very relaxed self, and as Patrick Head said, if he wins today, he's never going to want to be on pole position again. But I think Norbert Haug summed it up best of all. This is a brilliant day for German motorsport and Formula One in general. Over 100,000 people here, no cloud in the sky, and I think it's going to be a brilliant race.
Hard to disagree with you, Peter. It certainly looks set. I love the fact that it's a new circuit and no one quite knows what's coming up.
Well, that's the point, and you heard Eddie Jordan there. I mean, that's why I'm so excited about this. You've got this first corner possibility in that it is a tight circuit and there isn't going to be a lot of overtaking opportunities, especially and they're not sort of tried and tested either, as I've already mentioned. You heard Eddie saying there that the heat will mean that the tyres could possibly go off and they're braking from like 200 miles an hour down into the hairpins. Oh, it's got it all. It's got everything you could want. And two Germans on the front row, which everybody else wants to beat at their home Grand Prix. And the roar, wait for the roar, as they come into the stadium section for the first time. If one of those Schumachers is leading, it's going to be awesome.
One of those Schumachers could be in a Williams and could be leading, according to Peter Windsor. And let's find out what Patrick Head thinks of that prospect. He's with Bruce.
Patrick Head, good to see there's plenty of humour on the grid for Williams today. 2nd and 4th on the grid, but 8th and 10th in the warm-up. Is that an irrelevance?
Well, in the warm-up, people running different fuel levels and running through different programs. So we were happy with our warm-up and happy with the car. So the big thing is to try and get it right in different conditions this afternoon. It's 12 degrees hotter or so, and the tyres will behave quite differently.
And I take it, looking at the sky, there's not a cloud to be seen, that it's going to just carry on getting hotter?
I think it's going to be a pretty warm afternoon, yeah.
Patrick, best of luck. Thank you.
Well, more clucking over a Ferrari, but it doesn't seem as frantic as it has been earlier today, in fact, earlier this season. Mind you, that's Michael, so they're not worried, are they?
No, perfect conditions for this one. And Michael, cool, calm and collected. There are those towels you mentioned. And the crowd are going to be looking forward to this. And remember, you know, you've got to put it in context. We as British fans have had plenty of great champions to harp on about, you know, over the years in Formula One. But in the history of this sport, you know, Formula One hasn't had the Michael Schumachers. It wasn't until 1994 that they finally got a world champion.
We've heard from all the main players those so far, apart from McLaren Mercedes. Let's get a word now with Norbert Haug, who's with Peter.
A very, very big day for Germany, but also for you, this new circuit, the new grandstand, and also, of course, the German Grand Prix about to take place?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's really impressive how many spectators we've got here. It's certainly more than 100,000 today on race day. I think the new part of the racetrack is very impressive. We have a Mercedes-Benz grandstand there with a great view on the new part of the racetrack. And I think we will see a very challenging race, and I think Hockenheim did a great job so far.
I'm sure Ron Dennis and you will be happy with how hot it is right now.
Well, let's hope, you know, you never know. The only thing we know last weekend in Manicourt, it was very hot. The temperatures were comparable, and I think the team and Kimi and David did a very good job. And so let's hope we can repeat that performance. We certainly did not do that good so far in practice and qualifying, but we should look better in race trim, I would say.
Thank you very much, Norbert. Good luck.
Has caused problems in the past, particularly last year, if you remember. Michael Schumacher was actually quite slow away off the grid. He started in 4th place last year, had a gear change problem, made him very slow away, and he was hit by Luciano Berti in the Prost, who went cartwheeling down the road, didn't he? Hit Enrique Bernoldi, caused all sorts of chaos.
I'm sorry to say, but if anybody was going to hit Michael, it was going to be Luciano Berti, because, you know, when you see cars separating in front of you, there's always a reason for it. But Berti, you know, young man as he, a nice guy as he is, had his head down, charging, and all of a sudden there's a Ferrari doing 0 miles an hour and just bang. So over the top of Michael. We're just getting word from the pit lane that what was causing Rubens to jump from the race car into the spare car was a gear change problem, and accordingly, well, Peter Windsor in the pits outside the Ferrari garage is saying that the Ferrari engineers have resolved that problem. So the car would be available if there was an incident on the opening lap, for example, a first corner shunt where we saw the race being red flagged and coming back and everyone having to restart.
The lap layout, 67 laps to be completed here this afternoon. The first time that we've seen this revised track used in race conditions for a Grand Prix. And that hairpin will be the centre of attention, I'm sure, for plenty of incidents. There were incidents there in the Formula 3000 race yesterday as well, and I'm sure we'll see more of the same in the Grand Prix itself. Michael Schumacher, in the last 3 Grand Prix at Hockenheim, hasn't done any more than 23 laps. Part of that is that he didn't race in 1999 because it was after he broke his leg at Silverstone, but he still is chasing that elusive 2nd win and his first with the Ferrari team. What a delight that would be for him and his thousands upon thousands of fans that have gathered here this afternoon. Let's just quickly run through the grid again. The Schumachers on the front row, Barrichello and Montoya on the 2nd row, then Raikkonen and a very strong-looking Giancarlo Fisichella. The Hondas performing extremely well throughout the session. As you can see on the first page of the grid, down to 12th, we have all 4 Honda-powered cars, and people like Sauber and Renault are suddenly taking notice of the fact that Honda have come up with something a little more special. They are racing those engines. It wasn't just for qualifying, so they can expect to maintain that sort of performance in the race this afternoon. Great to see the Arrows cars back on the grid. Frentzen starting in 15th place, his teammate Enrique Bernoldi starting 18th. So with all the shenanigans that are going on with that situation and its team ownership, the main point is that both cars are on the grid and they'll be looking to work their way up the order if possible. Down towards the back, Mark Webber looking for another solid result. He was good throughout the Manicourt race, finished in 8th position. His 2nd best finish of the year. Has shown good reliability, that Minardi Asia Tech. Not so much pace perhaps, but it's given Webber several Grand Prix distances.
Yes, and what it's done for Mark Webber is put him into the frame for the opportunity when drives and maybe teams further up the grid are looking around, casting an eye at talent available. And Mark Webber has had already a run on a Jaguar and I think did a good job for the team. Certainly they would think of him as an able and competent replacement should they choose to replace Eddie Irvine, whose contract ends this year. Pedro de la Rosa's got a contract for a further year, but whether that involves options on either side, still not entirely clear. But Mark, very keen to move onwards and get into a manufacturing team and enjoy all the benefits that you have, not least of all the budgets available to those manufacturers.
Just the 1 minute to go now to the formation lap. Now, is everybody going to get off the grid safely this time? The last 2 Grand Prix, we have seen problems for Rubens Barrichello. He's had problems already. Let's just hope now. Michael just checking that the engine's firing up. This is where they will all be getting those engines fired up, putting them back down on the ground, and then hopefully they'll get away cleanly.
So we've got scrubbed fronts on Ralf Schumacher. Let's look at Michael. Scrub rays as well, and we've got brand new set of boots on Michael Schumacher's. The reason he puts his hand up like that is just to indicate to the starter at the back of the car when the air starter goes in, I'm ready, everything's all fired up, so just push the air compressor and then the engine fires up.
So engines are started. Marshals are standing beside the track ready with their yellow flags in case somebody gets stranded at the start. Let's see if they all get away safely this time in the beautiful blue skies here at Hockenheim. 21 cars starting away from the formation lap, and so far so good. Everybody gets away cleanly. The two Williams laying a lot of rubber down.
Oh, they laid stacks of it, believe me. They're starting on the dirty part of the racetrack. Montoya and Ralf Schumacher just switched everything off, laid two big black lines, and they will line up immediately. They come round straight on those lines, hoping to gain some grip from the dirty part of the racetrack, in a hope to maybe not get outgun Michael Schumacher, but to try and maybe slide ahead of Rubens Barrichello in the second of the Ferraris.
So now they're heading on to this new part of the track. They're not in the trees anymore as they used to be at Hockenheim. They're on the long curve called the Parabolica, which is about 1 kilometre long, and they're up to speeds of over 200 miles an hour there in qualifying. Might be a fraction less in the race itself. Riding on board with Juan Pablo Montoya. That first corner is going to be tricky, you know. It is a tight, it sort of tightens up on the apex, very narrow on the apex. I just hope they all make it through safely. There is a lot of runoff on the outside with that extra tarmac. That might give them a bit of leeway.
I suspect by the time they get down to the hairpin bend, they'll have gone through turn 1, hopefully no trouble, but there could be turn 2, possibly trouble. So that long turn 5, I think it is, could be hopefully clear of any issue.
The heat haze is clear as we see the track temperature climbing at Hockenheim. It's been such beautiful weather all day. It's getting hotter and hotter. It's certainly the hottest it's been all weekend, and this could change the equation for those tyre manufacturers. Into the stadium area and virtually packed out with fans, most of them cheering on Michael Schumacher, many of them I'm sure cheering on brother Ralf. The two of them set to start on the front row of the grid.
Well, there's a sensible mother covering the ears of her young offspring. The best thing she could do is buy a pair of ear defenders, and that would mute out a lot of the very sharp harmonics that a Grand Prix engine emits through its exhausts. But with the temperatures as hot as they are, those teams that are opting for their harder choice of tyres, and that's what Ferrari and the Williams teams have done. McLaren, they're also going that route, so tyres will be a key issue here this afternoon.
All the preparations have been made. The teams have done their work. Now they have to sit back, stand back and watch from the pit lane to see what happens in the opening laps of the German Grand Prix. A moment of tension for everybody up and down pit lane, and of course for the drivers as the adrenaline builds towards the start of 67 laps of the German Grand Prix. The red lights begin to go on. Is it going to be a Ferrari or a Williams into the first corner first? The German Grand Prix is go, and on the right we've got Michael Schumacher versus Ralf Schumacher. Somebody stranded, one of the arrows at the back as Barrichello tries to slot in, and Raikkonen going around the outside. Raikkonen's moved up into 4th place ahead of Montoya.
And I think it is Frentzen indeed stuck in it. I think Mark Webber was very slow as well, but Michael Schumacher gets the advantage. But look at that, McLaren. I think Raikkonen trying to squeeze past Montoya. He's done it, I believe.
Yeah, I think he might have squeezed already, and then Montoya was trying to get him back, so that's bad news for the Colombian. And behind them there's a good battle going on. Coulthard is trying to get past Trulli. Here comes Montoya on Raikkonen down towards the hairpin. Is he going to make the move work?
No, he can't. Raikkonen's on the inside. Montoya's got to slow. He's got the cut back now. It's pure acceleration out of turn 5 down to turn 6, but again Montoya unable to deal with a young pin.
So it's Raikkonen ahead of Montoya in this battle, but it's Michael Schumacher who leads, with Ralf Schumacher in 2nd place, then Barrichello in the 2nd Ferrari in 3rd, with Raikkonen holding on to 4th.
Montoya 5th, Jarno Trulli is all the way up from 8th to 6th, Coulthard from 9th to 7th. Pedro de la Rosa isn't a problem. We saw one of the Jaguars go wide on the exit of turn 1. But that's a further disappointment to Jaguar and Pedro de la Rosa.
Same distance as he managed here last year. He crashed last year at the first chicane, and de la Rosa's out on the first lap once again, and the yellow flags because of de la Rosa's car stranded. Here comes Michael Schumacher already opening a gap over Ralf. Then it's Barrichello, Raikkonen, Montoya. There is Trulli ahead of Coulthard and Fisichella in the Jordan.
Fisichella had disappointment. He had a great good position, 6th. He's lost out in that first corner shuffle, down to 9th place. but doesn't matter. It's a 66 lap Grand Prix now.
And Ralph looks as though he may be struggling already to stay ahead of Barrichello. The gap opening up between the Ferrari out in front and the Williams in second place, and Barrichello now beginning to bear down on Ralf Schumacher, looking for second spot.
But he was thinking about it. He said, no, I'm going to wait. I'll just give myself another lap or so. There are the flags for De La Rosa's Jaguars, pulled off to the left as they come down into turn 6. This very quick sweep to the right and hard on the brakes. Barrichello knows there's nothing he can do here, but look, an error. So maybe he's got an opportunity as they come out of... No, it's not going to happen. The best time for Barrichello is to get himself prepared, to come out of turn 2 cleanly, and then get a run on Ralf Schumacher.
This is where we've seen people running wide. They both get through the Ajip corner safely, turn 12. Now into the Sachs curve, the left-hander, well inside the stadium, the old part of the track. So now Ralf Schumacher holding his second place ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Raikkonen in 4th, Montoya still in 5th place. There you see the Williams go through. There's Jarno Trulli with a great start and up into 6th. Coulthard in 7th, Fisichella 8th, then Panis in 9th place, and Jenson Button up from 13th to 10th position. So look at Michael, he's certainly checking out front.
Yes, and there is that Pedro de la Rosa it is. I'm just wondering what Williams may have done. Seemingly Ralf Schumacher not just quite so quick off the grid. Let's look again at the start. Lights go out, but Michael gets a blinding start. But look behind.
Look at Raikkonen. He had the clean side of the track. He got a great getaway, got in front of Montoya there into the first corner, and that perhaps a victim either of a heavy car for Montoya. Now Montoya did try to come back at him.
Yes, he did. But Raikkonen goes down the inside to defend. Montoya looks, comes up alongside. He's going to go around the long way round. I don't believe it. He closes the door on Raikkonen, but Raikkonen, you can see the shadow of McLaren. Well, that's where it got done. That's Takuma Sato, we think.
Yeah, that's Sato towards the lower part of the grid order. 14th place. I think he's lost one position there.
That was to Jacques Villeneuve. There he is.
Yeah, Villeneuve therefore takes the place. So he's in 13th place. And just to let you know that the arrows that got stranded was Frentzen on the grid. So poor Heinz-Harald Frentzen on home soil out of the race. So Frentzen and De La Rosa not making it any further, or not even getting to the line at the end of the first lap.
So there's a little battle with Villeneuve, Sato, McNish, Irvine, Benoldi, and the tail of the field, Mark Webber. The last car, now a 19-car field with Frentzen out before, well, just as the lights went out, De La Rosa stopped on the first lap. 2 cars out within 2 laps.
Alan McNish you're looking at there in the battle with Benoldi. McNish running 16th at the moment. Webber is behind them, and Salo got behind the Minardi there, John. So Mark Webber managed to get past the Toyota of Mika Salo, and that's a little tussle that's going on. Meanwhile, look at this, Button versus Massa. Massa going down the inside of Jenson Button, or was there a touch?
No, there was no touch, but I think Button was very wise. Felipe Massa had a run. He decided he was going to take the chance. Button used the mirrors. He saw him coming, but of course it forced Button wide to the run-off part of the corner, as you've seen in the Porsche Super Cup, something that Formula 1 cars do not like to do because the underbody being so low, it could be marginally damaged.
So Button is now pushed back down to 11th place by Felipe Massa. Heidfeld is next up, and then we've got Villeneuve, Sato, Irvine in that next little gaggle. And look at Michael Schumacher. In fact, Frentzen is running, and he's about to be lapped by him.
Yes, Frentzen did get going, and he's 2 laps down. He's running just ahead of Michael Schumacher, and in the space of this lap or a little more, he'll be gobbled up by the first 5, 6. Look at this battle.
Raikkonen versus Montoya. Montoya's closed back up on the fin again, and Raikkonen just seemed to drift a little wide through that first corner, but now he's pulling away again.
Yes, it looks to me the McLaren, once again, the handling of the car, excellent. Raikkonen able to eke out a little bit of time on the exit of turn 2, while Montoya seems to struggle on the exit.
So Frentzen has been passed by Michael Schumacher. There's Barrichello. There is this battle between Raikkonen and Montoya. Great, exciting battle this between 2 drivers in their second year of Grand Prix racing. Of course, Montoya a great deal more experienced at top-level motor racing with his time in the United States, but Raikkonen has been so superb, came so close to his first win last week in France.
And as in that turn 8, we've seen Montoya at practice on a couple of occasions get it all wrong, runs wide over the grass. Now reconciled to not being able to deal very much with the young Finn. Certainly in this part of the circuit, a little lock-up for Raikkonen in the Sachs curve. Montoya gets it in, sees those little signals, knows how hard Raikkonen is pushing.
So how much fuel did they all start with? That will be the big question. Montoya's car did look a little slow off the line, but he was on the slippery side of the track. It may just be down to getting a little bit less grip and less traction off the line, but certainly Michael Schumacher got away well. We're looking further back. Here is the battle between Trulli and Coulthard, these two running 6th and 7th.
The problem for David Coulthard is running behind Trulli, and I think he could run quicker than Trulli, but he can't find a way past. It is now 13.3 seconds behind race leader at the end of lap 5.
Heading down towards the hairpin, and you know, with the benefit of following other cars, we're actually seeing pretty high speeds at the speed trap down there. 325 kilometers per hour for Bernoldi. Must have had a big toe down towards the hairpin.
Yes, had a big toe, probably took a fair bit of wing off, knowing that the only place you can get past anybody is going to be realistically into that hairpin bend, and prepared to maybe make some sacrifices in other parts of the track to be able to gain position down at the hairpin. Oh, and Irvine has spun.
Irvine has spun out of 15th place. He was ahead of Bernoldi, McNish and Webber and Salo, but I think that group has all gone past him, so he rejoins effectively at the back except for Frentzen.
Well, was that an Irvine own goal, or was he assisted into that spin? Eddie doesn't really make too many mistakes in races, and hopefully we'll get a view of that replay. Here we see it. Well, he's all on his own. Comes down. There's the battle with Villeneuve, and look at that. And Jenson Button once again getting the short end of the stick. First of all with Felipe Massa, now with Jacques Villeneuve, and Eddie just loops it around, apparently all on his own. There we see.
Yeah, there was a bit of a mess.
Well, nothing. Eddie just sort of spun it, and it was as if the traction control didn't activate.
Well, I wonder what's up with Button, unless he's got a very heavy car at this point, because he does seem to be struggling under braking at the hairpin. So Jenson Button, I wonder if they've put a lot of fuel on board the Renault. We won't find that out until a little later on. Their second place man, Ralf Schumacher. Third is Barrichello, and here come the battling duo, Raikkonen and Montoya.
Yes, the front three are pulling away fairly comfortably now from Kimi Raikkonen in fourth. 3.7 seconds to Raikkonen to Barrichello, but now when Pablo Montoya closes back up as David Coulthard once again feels it's time he's seen enough of the back of Trulli's Renault into turn 6.
Yes, and he feels it's about time he could get past the Renault, but Trulli holding on to it for the moment. That really was a superb qualifying lap from Trulli right at the end of the session when Renault had been struggling so much through free practice. They made a lot of changes to the car, and Trulli did one of his qualifying specials to put it on the 4th row, and I'm sure Coulthard would be quite happy if he hadn't done, because he could have done with being slightly further up the grid himself. Very close in qualifying. We had some 14 cars covered by 1 second in qualifying yesterday, and once again we're seeing a very close level of competitiveness in the midfield.
And Pablo Montoya still finding that Kimi Raikkonen's McLaren capable of holding him behind, and Raikkonen just sitting there driving away, showing maturity. I think he's learned an awful lot from last weekend's French Grand Prix, overcome the disappointment of that little incident down at the Adelaide hairpin where the oil from McNish's car he wasn't aware of it, locked up on the brakes and let Michael take the victory. But now again Montoya, the speed of the Williams, runs right up to the tail of the McLaren, and once again this battle for 4th place is hotting up.
Let's ride with him onto this new section, the tight left-hander where he made a mistake in qualifying yesterday, the very quick right-hander out to the curb, and now the Ajit turn where we saw so many people running wide, including Montoya himself. Again, just a little tyre smoke from Raikkonen, indicating how on the limit he is with the braking into that left-hander, the Sachs curve. And Montoya does look as though he could go faster if he could get past, but that is quite a challenge at the moment.
We're just looking at the lap times. We have a lap record, of course. Every lap passes that will be a lap record. 1:17.6 to Michael Schumacher. Now he's dropped off by 0.6 of a second, so the situation regarding tyres is already on lap 9 becoming an issue. The tyre degradation that we've talked about, there's the example of it. Nevertheless, Michael Schumacher still pulling away from brother Ralph, 5.2 seconds.
Yes, so he's got a very comfortable advantage, and Barrichello seems content to sit behind Ralph at the moment, and he may have to wait until the pit stops before an opportunity to get past. Montoya does not want to wait long, and again he's closed up behind Raikkonen.
He closes up in the second half of this very long straight down into that hairpin bend, turn 6.
This is beginning to become quite a battle now, John. We've got Trulli at the head of this queue in the Renault, then it's Coulthard and then Fisichella. Panis is not far behind Fisichella, behind him the two Saubers of Massa and Heidfeld.
And clearly Jarno Trulli doing the best he can, but it's not really enough to stave off the attack from these 5 cars that are following. But Jarno Trulli's there to race. Let's have a look and see what goes on. Well, that's Jenson Button once again losing a place. This time Mika Salo gets through. Whoa, it's a bit tight, it's a bit tight. And that was through turn 7.
Must have some sort of problem, I would think, Jenson Button. He, even if he'd started heavy, some of that fuel would have burned off by now. So Button surely has some sort of technical problem to be dropping further down the order. He's 17th at the moment. He's been passed by Mark Webber. And that just gives you some idea of what sort of trouble he's in. 1:21 his last lap.
Well, 2 Sabers side by side into turn 1, and Massa nips through, well, braver than Dick Tracy, and gets the job done.
Well, that's not going to make Heidfeld too happy, is it? You remember the Nürburgring where Massa, these two were in tandem virtually the whole race, but Massa was the one who took the 1 point for 6th place, and Heidfeld, after a tough race, had to settle for no points in 7th. It does seem that qualifying goes the way of Heidfeld, but come the races, Massa and his feisty driving style works well.
Michael Schumacher continues to lead, but tyre degradation now worth a second a lap. It's causing the cars to run 1 second slower than they were able to do in the early laps of this Grand Prix. 4.9 seconds ahead of his brother, but Rubens Barrichello a further 1.2 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher.
Still this battle going on between Trulli and Coulthard with in the background you can see Fisichella, then Panis in the white BAR. Coming through then is Massa in the Sauber, having passed his more experienced teammate, and this is the view. It's just right a second with Trulli. Listen to that. Notice how he changes up early.
Yes, as I call a short shift. Surprisingly, we've not had anybody do that in any of the qualifying or practice sessions.
Let's see what Michael's been up to.
Whoa, Michael got a big... Now, he did that in practice when he clipped the curb on the inside, and it caused him to run wide and actually go over the grass onto that runoff area. Again, clipping it, I think, on the entry. The back end suddenly let go, gets the lock on. But look at this, is a pass coming up? Is it a pass coming up?
Montoya on Raikkonen, this is great stuff, side by side. Oh, they're both slippery.
But it's horsepower now. Can he get back side by side? But Raikkonen has done it. He's got back. Well, that was a real chance for, I should say, for both of them. Both of them raced hard, but both of them didn't have contact. But now Montoya sweeps through on the inside. He's in the wrong part of the track for this next right-hander. Now he's in position. Can he get the power down? Has he got the horsepower advantage? Yes, he has.
He's got the inside. Montoya now, has he got it? But Raikkonen stays with him around the outside, still side by side. Montoya squeezes him out now into the Sachs curve, the left-hander. Montoya finally finishes him off. What great racing between these two. That was just outstanding.
But what was outstanding about it for me is that started in the hairpin turn 6 and went all the way through to turn 12. They raced wheel by wheel. They almost had contact, certainly in turn 12, the Airship corner. It was as close as it gets, but Raikkonen and Montoya, both racers respected each other's track position. But Montoya now, having got himself ahead into 4th place, has already begun to open up a short gap.
And how critical do you think that will be in the coming years of Formula One, John? These two are likely to be amongst the pace setters in the next few years, and they will have enjoyed that first encounter wheel to wheel, and Irvine spun again.
Well, Eddie Irvine's having a very, very difficult day. This is done in the final 2 turns. Second spin of the afternoon for Eddie Irvine. Let's look again how this battle developed. This is coming into turn 6, the hairpin bend. Raikkonen defence. Montoya's actually ahead. Now Coulthard's got past. He's got past Jarno Trulli.
Yep, dive down the inside of Trulli. That puts him into 6th place and finishes it off. And Trulli now does seem to be struggling for pace. And right behind him is Fisichella and Olivier Panis. And I think that Trulli may not be able to hold this lot off much longer.
I tell you what, I hope he doesn't, because we're going to have a stunning couple of laps. The Renault is really struggling. Giancarlo Fisichella now has got a clear run. Flavio Briatore's face looking at the thing saying, this is not our day.
Button is still running. He's down in 18th place, but Jarno Trulli, the one under pressure.
He's gone wide.
Fisichella's made a mistake and Panis has got him.
And watch Massa. He's also going to try and take advantage of the mistake from the young Italian. He made an error just coming through the Airship curve, ran wide. That was enough for Villeneuve. Thank you very much, Panis, for Olivier Panis. Job done. I'm through.
So Olivier Panis, the Frenchman who's really been driving well this weekend. Look at these three. Massa's got alongside Fisichella. How did he manage that?
He's got dirty tyres. Fisichella's tyres got choked up with all the dust and dirt by going offline. It's going to take him maybe 3 or 4 corners to clean it up, but Massa maybe on a lighter fuel load. And now Panis having a go, looking to find a way past Jarno Trulli. Trulli in 7th, Panis in 8th.
Well, Massa is certainly an exciting racer, isn't he? He's prepared to have a go anywhere, and that wasn't a normal overtaking place, but he still got through. Here comes Panis on Trulli, trying to go for the inside into the hairpin again.
Honda horsepower clearly is back in Formula One. There you've seen it. Renault had no response. Trulli said, I know when I'm beaten, I'm not going to defend it because he's just that much quicker than I am.
He can't do much at all, and Massa will be the next one to have a go, and you can bet he will have a go. The young Brazilian, there he is, ahead of the yellow Jordan of Fisichella, with Heidfeld in the second Sauber just back, and it certainly looks as though Fisichella's beginning to slide around. We're riding on board with the second place man now, Ralf Schumacher, a 1:18.1 last time around, same time virtually as Barrichello behind him. Not much different to Michael Schumacher ahead of him, and Montoya, who's now got into some clear air, is lapping just a fraction slower than the leaders. He's just on a 1:18.3.
Yeah, but you contrast what Raikkonen's doing now, running in a 1:20.018. So Montoya's pace has dramatically risen, where Raikkonen's has dropped back. So that battle that we were watching for fourth place with Raikkonen and Montoya, once Montoya got through, then he's up and running.
Yeah, Massa having a little bit of a look there at getting past Jarno Trulli. Watch out for the yellow and green helmets in the Sauber, bobbing around as he moves and jostles for position here, turning through turns 2 and 3. Now, it's along this next stretch where he will likely have a go.
Watch her go. This is Nick Heidfeld's view, looking forward to Fisichella. What we want to see is Felipe Massa. Is he going to slide down the inside? Yes, he does. Gets along, not quite alongside. He's going to force it. Oh, he didn't. Fisichella almost overruns Massa. Now Nick Heidfeld gets a chance, and Jacques Villeneuve.
What has happened there? I'm just wondering where... well, that's okay, yes. So we've got Villeneuve joining into that battle. 12th, Sato is 13th, so he's joining the back of that
You think
queue.
there's Olivier Panis? He's gone his way. There he is now going through turn 12.
Yes, indeed, Panis well ahead of this battle. It's pulled away very quickly, hasn't he, from this group? And Massa now trying to find a way past the Renault that is bottling everybody up.
And what's interesting to watch, we don't see it, but we will do at some point, Olivier Panis is pulling away so quickly from Trulli. He's almost catching up to Coulthard. He's 2.4 seconds behind, and David better watch out.
A 17.9 from Montoya on that last lap, so a little bit quicker than some, although Barrichello did a 17.8, so it does look as though the Williams, their tyre choice is being sustained. They're working well on the harder Michelins, which we think that they went for this race, but it does look as though Jarno Trulli's struggling, whether it's tyres, whether it's something else. Here comes Massa.
Well, Renault struggled here all weekend. I suspect the bottom line is they just haven't found the grip that enabled them to run at the pace you've seen in other Grand Prix. And Felipe Massa, he shouldn't overrun into turn 2, take his own line, take his time, but get out of the corner quickly and use his extra speed off the corner to help him. And look at Fisichella, he's decided, and he goes down the inside this time. He has done it. By watch Fisichella trying to get back. Massa's made a mess of the exit, but Fisichella can't respond.
Nope, so that puts Felipe Massa up into 8th position, up ahead of Jarno Trulli. Trulli, yes, who can't get back at him now. Fisichella now has that opportunity, but he's got the Sauber of Heidfeld right behind. Look at Villeneuve and Sato, all that much closer.
New lap record for Ralf Schumacher. 3.7 seconds now behind his brother in the lead of this afternoon's Grand Prix. And we're looking at Renault preparing. This is a new set of tyres being prepared. We're on lap 16 of 67. That's an early thought to make a stop.
Yeah, we wouldn't expect to see stops until into the early 20s, pretty much the earliest we would expect to see. Anyway, as you're watching Fisichella come through, he's now 10th, remember, and this gaggle of cars that's been battling behind Jarno Trulli. Trulli now has been pushed back to 9th. Massa is heading off up the road. He's getting away very quickly again.
Fisichella gets past now, Jarno Trulli. Remember, he made that mistake in the Imola corner some 4 laps ago. That cost him 3 places, but again, slow. Now Heidfeld gets past at the same opportunity. So 2 places are lost to Jarno Trulli in the Renault.
Yeah, he is struggling somewhat, isn't he? There's no doubt about it. He cannot sustain the pace. And now Sato going down the inside of Villeneuve, the Japanese driver on the left, trying to get past the Canadian. Well, that's brave driving from Takuma Sato, and Villeneuve nearly taken by Bernoldi.
I mean, that's the second half of the field now, all bunched up. That's all because of Jarno Trulli. He's now dropping back. And there we see, well, what a fantastic and fascinating battle at the middle to the tail of the 3 cars into 1 do not go. Mark Webber having a go, loses a place once again, and that is Becasalo who gets ahead of Mark Webber.
Well, that's disappointing for Webber after he'd run in front of the Toyota, but the Renault is coming into the pits now. It's going to be an early stop. I think it's Trulli who will be heading into the pits. Button is all the way down in 19th place, by the way, really struggling.
But Ralf Schumacher, once again, fastest in that first sector. He was quickest on the last lap. He's looking to find a way to cut into that 3.5-second lead. His brother has. Trulli comes in.
Trulli into the pits then. He's not on the speed limiter yet. That doesn't happen until he gets to the line here, or just a bit further down. In fact, there's the speed limit line. Coming down the pits now into the Renault area. And, well, whatever it is that's slowing him down, I'm not sure, but they will automatically change tyres, refuel. It is an early-ish pit stop. It's only lap number 16 out of 67.
It's a very early stop. And fuel going in. They didn't change the front tyres. I don't know what was going on there.
So out they come back again, and they're just changing the rears. Perhaps it's purely rear-end grip that he was lacking. We'll have to see. The race leader.
3.4 seconds. It was a tenth of a second, but a new lap record for Ralf Schumacher, who is now knuckling down and going to give BMW and all the fans who've come up from Munich something to shout about. They thought it might be a Michael Schumacher parade this afternoon. Well, they're about to try and spoil that.
Yes, Ralf closing the gap up to his brother, up to down to 3.4 seconds. Remember, it was over 5 seconds the advantage at one point, but now it's 3.4 seconds with Barrichello still in close attendance.
But Rubens is being dragged along. He's running more at Ralph's pace than he's running at Michael Schumacher's pace.
So still a prospect of a great battle between the top three, although Michael's just gone fastest on the first sector of the lap.
Uncle Ross Brawn in the pits has responded and said, Michael, you're getting under pressure from Williams and your teammate. We want a little bit more. Fastest of all in the first sector. Personal best for Michael Schumacher in the second sector. 3.4 seconds the distance to Ralf Schumacher and Michael. At the end of this lap, let's say the tide has been stopped and it may start to increase.
So Michael Schumacher coming up behind the car of Jarno Trulli, who has just made a pit stop, of course. Schumacher leads after 18 laps have been completed. Ralf Schumacher just closing that gap up very slightly, down to 3.3 seconds. And Ralf, the fastest man on the track at the moment. His teammate, Juan Pablo Montoya, runs in 4th place. And improving on this lap, he's setting best sector times for him personally. Cross the line he goes, and that was a 1:17.6, so almost the same pace as the leaders.
Yes, but of course, by the lap, he's still losing ground to his teammate. Montoya is some, 19 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, some 14.8 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello in 3rd place.
Yes, so there's a long gap between himself and the top three, and at the moment it's very much a battle between Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher, who's putting in those series of quick laps, and Barrichello, who seems to be able to maintain that pace. Montoya into the hairpin. He's got fairly big distance behind him now to Kimi Räikkönen. Remember, they were battling, but now there's some 12 seconds between them.
So Michael flashed through. Jarno Trulli, who's now a lap down, goes through. Then it's Ralf, and there's another pass. Now we look, and it's just Fisichella, I think, on
Heidfeld. I think it was Heidfeld trying to get past Fisichella as they head down towards the hairpin, and Heidfeld had a little go there but couldn't quite make it. Massa, his teammate, of course, a little further up the road. Massa's in 8th place and only 2.1 seconds behind Olivier Panis. Panis in turn some 2 seconds behind David Coulthard. So it's possible that both Panis and Massa will close up to the McLaren of Coulthard, currently running in 6th.
Well, Coulthard's got Olivier Panis behind him, Felipe Massa. That group of cars all running in the middle or very low 1-minute 19s, contrasting to the leaders in the high 17s. But Montoya's just on a 17.4 as Heidfeld just clips the edge on the exit of Airjeep corner. Doesn't lose any time, but just the rear view of Giancarlo Fisichella's Jordan, something he would like to see in his mirrors, and that would be the front view.
Yes, indeed, but at the moment he's still looking for an opportunity to go through, and in the top 6 at the moment, currently in the points, we've got 2 Ferraris, 2 Williams and both McLarens. I suppose no great surprise there.
Well, that gap up to 3.7 seconds, it was down to 3.4, so Ralf Schumacher having been, well, a little bit of a lesson, and we're just catching on the pits channel. Number 7, now we see the Cyber team preparing. As Ralf Schumacher now has got to make his way past the Renault of Jarno Trulli, who's been in the pits, of course, for one stop already. The blue lights being shown. There's Jenson Button just ahead of him. What an awful day now. How many corners can you go, Trulli? You might have backed off a little bit early and Ralf go through. He has to do it now. Yes, he does. Barrichello, but Barrichello's going to look down the inside. Ralph has to block. Now, Ralph will not have been happy. Williams will have noted that. So will race director.
Yes, in fact, there was a gesticulation from Ralph as he went past there. He wasn't at all impressed. And Barrichello nearly got a decent run on him. I don't think now that he will have the momentum as they head down towards the tight hairpin. And you're looking back from Ralf Schumacher's car. Barrichello just moves over to say, I'm still here, you know. But it wasn't a true attempt to overtake. And Ralph holds second behind brother Michael, some 4.3 seconds away.
It's always good to do that, to put your car into the mirror of the car that you're attacking or trying to pass. You want to get the other driver beginning to look sideways to see where you are you going to do it. Felipe Massa, the first of the Sabres, into the pits. This is lap 20.
Trying to understand what he's saying. It's not that easy.
I think it's only about brakes, I'm not sure. 9 seconds for the Brazilian.
Good stop, and he comes back out on track, so we'll see where that puts him. It's we're about 1/3 distance, just short of 1/3 distance at the moment, and that makes it a 2-stop race, of course. Refueling for another 24 laps, according to our computer predictor graphic that flashes up on screen. And then Ralf Schumacher coming through, Barrichello in 3rd position.
So Barrichello did have an opportunity at this point of the track 1 lap ago when Jarno Trulli was not as helpful. So 2nd place, Ralf Schumacher again. Now Barrichello closes up on the entry, but the Williams BMW able just to get that little bit of traction down that much sooner. Not that the traction's any better, it's just he's able to get on the throttle earlier because of his track position.
So there's not a lot that Rubens can do at this stage. He just has to shadow the Williams BMW, perhaps look for any potential mistake. Let's take a look at a replay of them trying to get past Trulli and watch for the wave coming here, the signal.
Yes, well, that was pretty clear. I love you too. So Ralf Schumacher feeling, and quite rightly too, that Trulli should have certainly let Ralf Schumacher through before turn 1. There's this battle with Enrique Bernoulli and Alan McNish. So that's the tail end of that battle that we've been enjoying with Fisichella, Heidfeld, Massa.
I was just wondering where Salo was, but it's because he's come in the pits, yes. So that's why we see Mark Webber next on the road behind McNish. His teammate Mika Salo has just come into the pits for his first pit stop. And the leaders continue on round, so we still haven't seen Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher or Rubens Barrichello make their first round of stops. In the background you can still see Trulli, who's being chased down by Montoya, although Montoya is still quite a long way behind.
Well, I suspect that certainly Ferrari can do 1 stop if they wish. But look at the inside wear, the shoulder on that right rear on the car, left on the picture. You can see how little tread remains on that inside shoulder. So this is the view looking back towards Rubens Barrichello. Looks much longer than it is in reality. And
it looks like, just looking down on the pit lane, it looks like Frentzen is out of the race now. Frentzen's car's just being pushed back into the Arrows pit garage, I'm afraid. There it is, and it looks as though it's all over for the German who got stranded on the grid. Got going again, but whatever it is, now terminal, so he's out of it. Up front, after 22 laps, we're at pretty much the 1/3 distance mark now in this 67-lap race, and Michael Schumacher with a 5-second lead again.
But Ralf Schumacher's on the charge. He's got fastest of all in 1st sector, fastest of all in 2nd sector, and maybe this is a message from the pits. Maybe there's a Williams pit stop coming up sooner than maybe we are thinking, as Nick Heidfeld leaves the pits, so the 2 Sabres have been in and out.
Now they were telling that Felipe was on 2 stops. I think that's what they said. I couldn't quite make it out. I would have thought that they would have told each other what they were doing before the start of the race.
New lap record for Ralf Schumacher. The gap back down to 3.8 seconds. Oh, that blew up. There's a Honda has blown up. And that, we look down and see, I think it's Villeneuve.
Yeah, it is Villeneuve.
That's Villeneuve, yes, coming out of turn 2. Well, there's Villeneuve. That was a replay. He's still running around the track.
It was, yeah, it certainly looked like engine, John. I don't think it was just
Unless
dust.
he just dragged dust. It certainly looked very blue to us. And maybe it was simply dust. Nonetheless, Villeneuve still running. That replay, I thought, was an engine failure from Honda.
So Michael in control and enjoying himself, although Ralph, with that fastest lap that he's just set, has closed the gap up again slightly, particularly in traffic. And I have to say, this is the best race pace. Oh, Webber.
Well, Mark Webber got out of the way of Michael Schumacher in a very difficult part of track and probably compromised himself, but let the race leader go through, who is absolutely charging. He is aware of Ralph's new lap record. Ralph again fastest of all, quickest time in that 2nd sector. So, and Barrichello keeping the pressure up. Now Montoya is responding. He's gone fastest in second sector. So all the top 4 cars at various parts of the circuit recording purples on the data screen. That's button 5 on your handset.
This is the first time, John, that we've seen Williams competing against Ferrari in these sort of conditions at this pace. Later on in a race, when they've got close to their pit stops, they've normally dropped away. So this is pretty impressive, and good performance from Williams, choosing that harder Michelin tyre. They told us they were working on race setup. It seems to be working, but will it be enough?
Well, looking at the Ferrari, the brake dust coming out as Michael turns in into turn 8, and that's that very tight left-hander in front of the Mercedes-Benz. Look at the blisters on the inside shoulder of Michael's tyre. He's blistering those inside shoulders. So Ralf Schumacher, that information will go to the Williams team as quickly as we get it and give it to you, and that will be passed on to Ralf Schumacher. So maybe even the Williams team have seen something from the pit lane.
Oh, we've got problems for Mark Webber, I have to report. We saw him dive out of the way a moment ago, and McNish in trouble as well. So Webber's just got out of the car in the pit lane, and McNish...
Hydraulic pressure, Alan. Into the top, I'm stuck at the top.
Well, he's up at turn 6,
there was the oil fire.
CDS, Alan, CDS.
And it sounded like a hydraulic failure. It looks...
CDS twice, it doesn't matter. Getting out.
I think they're trying to get him into neutral, but he's feeling uncomfortable where the car is. That's at turn 6 of the hairpin bend. Bernoldi in the pits. Frenzen's retirement was due to hydraulics, we understand. Villeneuve comes out.
He's still all
so
right.
whatever that problem was, I mean, we thought it was an engine failure. It had all the makings of it, but it must just have been the dust that was kicked up and just the way the light picked up through it, and no problem for Jacques Villeneuve. Returns to the track.
So Jacques is on track once more. Bernoldi still behind him in the sole remaining arrows in this race after we've lost Frentzen, of course. Montoya, a slow lap last time around from
Juan Pablo. There it is. There's McNish's car now off track, and that smouldering Toyota V10 engine is getting a bit of charcoal. Look at it. You can see the dust, the fire extinguisher powder being poured. As a Renault is pulled off, and that's Jenson Button, and that's just on the long parabolica.
P0, please. Bad luck.
Well, he's been struggling all afternoon. The car surely had a problem.
We're still in P2. I don't know what it is. He just cut out on the straight. No drive.
And he's reported it just cut out. So that's it, all over for Jenson Button after what has proved to be a very difficult afternoon. But for Michael Schumacher, everything's going well at the moment. But Ralf isn't giving up. The gap is 3.1 seconds. So across the line, let's see who's coming in. Eddie Irvine and Barrichello.
So Eddie Irvine not really in the race today, having had a couple of spins. Rubens Barrichello with the spare car, the first time he's enjoyed that luxury. Ferrari come in on lap 26. This is absolutely crucial. So Montoya too far behind, because unless he's in a one-stop strategy, Barrichello, once all this shakes itself out, will no doubt retain his third place. Of course,
this could be good for Williams, because Barrichello coming in at this point gives Ralf Schumacher a good opportunity here to go a little bit further. If he started with a bit more fuel on board and was able to do that sort of pace, then it's a good sign for Williams and for Ralf Schumacher, who is now just 2.4 seconds off the lead. Ralf Schumacher is still very much in this race as you're looking at Raikkonen in.
So this is lap 26 as well for Kimi Raikkonen. McLaren 8.9, well 9.2, let's call it just 9, because the hose coming out and Raikkonen moving was very close indeed. As we watch 80 litres fuel for 24 laps. And now Michael is coming in on lap 27.
So Michael Schumacher will come in from the lead of this race, but his brother is just 2.4 seconds behind. And what can he do over the next few laps? Here comes Michael.
Slows down, that crawl down the pit lane. Ferrari pit, the first pit in the pit lane. They're ready for him. Watch them go to work.
Ralf Schumacher becomes the new leader here in Germany. There is our new race leader, having not stopped yet, and Michael Schumacher gets away in 8.4 seconds. A very straightforward and clean stop for the world champion. But what can his brother do? Will Williams be able to get his car back out in front after he makes his
short
first
of fuel
stop?
load for just 21 laps. So Ferrari trying to gamble that Ralf, when he comes in, will put more fuel, but Bernoldi, well, he's not going to try and repass Michael Schumacher, but he's fully entitled to, because they're actually racing for position, but not for very long as the Ferrari picks up speed on a new set of tyres, being refueled. And let's go back to this battle And look at
Villeneuve.
what is going on?
Villeneuve going in very deep and wide. Now, of course, they've got Montoya in the middle of that group trying to lap them, and that's where Michael has rejoined. He's not that far behind Montoya, as we're looking at Villeneuve, who slowed down, pulled out. I don't know whether it's actually a mechanical issue this time. It might be.
I think it looks, well, what's he doing? He's certainly got a problem of some description. Going very slowly, and you can see again there's that smoke or liquid coming from the right rear of that Honda BAR.
So Ralf Schumacher, race leader, how many laps will he now do before he comes in?
This is crucial lap 1:16.642, new lap record. He's been given the message by the team. This is it, he's got to consolidate, he's got to push. If he's ever pushed his life, he's got to do it this year. If he wants to make it 2 in a row, he's got to push hard.
Yeah, this is where Ralf Schumacher's really up against it. Can he do what his brother always does so well at this point in a race and put in some semi-qualifying laps? This was the clearance as they were blowing away the any debris that might be in the side pods of the Ferrari. And Rubens Barrichello got away very safely.
And that's for any rubber debris that might be around the circuit. So not that there are any leaves that we saw in Canada. So Williams preparing. And this will be Ralf Schumacher, or will it be Juan Pablo Montoya?
Well, a very quick lap last time around from Ralf Schumacher. Perhaps that indicates it will be him coming in. It is 28 laps have been completing. This is the 29th lap.
Ben, 2 purple sectors, so whether he comes in or not, this is the quickest lap of the 29 that Ralf Schumacher has completed. He may not finish it, but if he does, it'll give him all hope.
Coulthard has been off and has rejoined at turn 8 and 9. That's that tight sector, and Ralf coming in. He's got a car. Villeneuve slowing him down as he comes in. This is disastrous for him. Oh, Ralf Schumacher, what bad luck. And Villeneuve very late to pick that up.
Well, I mean, he's always been in a dream, and I don't know what world Jacques comes from. That was just irresponsible, and I don't know.
That could have denied Ralf Schumacher the chance of retaking the lead here when he comes out. He lost a couple of seconds by the looks of things. Fisichella also in. 8 seconds the stop. Montoya is now in the lead of this race, but where does Ralf come out?
Well, here he comes. It's critical to where Michael Schumacher is.
Michael's ahead of him, I think. Michael's already turning into turn 2. And that means that Ralf has not been able to take the advantage there of some good quick laps.
Well, I mean, I know that Jacques Villeneuve had a problem, and maybe he didn't expect to see Ralf Schumacher power up behind him so quickly. Nevertheless, you are responsible, and particularly if you have a problem, to ensure that you keep out of the way.
There was Michael, but where about Barrichello? They're still right behind him. Look at that.
Well, there's a deja vu, but watch Barrichello. He's already been in and out, he's up to speed, his tyres, he's got accustomed to the feel. Remember, each set of tyres, meant to be identical, do provide slightly different handling characteristics.
So they head around. Coulthard, I mentioned to you, had a bit of an off, but he didn't really lose much time through it. And Coulthard has just made his pit stop, in fact, from 5th position. And we'll see if that keeps him safely in that place when he comes back out again. As Montoya awaiting. We're awaiting Montoya's pit stop this lap. We're expecting Montoya to come in now.
Well, Nicasalo stays away, and here comes Juan Pablo Montoya. So he now drives down the pit lane. Nobody there in his way, gets in cleanly. As Michael Schumacher now takes over the lead. Ralf Schumacher second, Barrichello third. And we wait to see who, it probably will be Kimi Raikkonen in 4th place, in fact.
Yes, we wait for...
Not a lot, because Montoya will go out in 4th place, I suspect. So Montoya should be in and out before Raikkonen comes round, and in fact he will be.
Yep, so he'll be rejoining in 4th position, which is where he was before all this fun and game started of the first stops. The time that he lost in the early stages really is now proving to be very, very difficult to make up.
And fuel for only 19 laps, so Williams again slightly short-changing Montoya to try and give him the opportunity to use those tyres fully effectively with a slightly lighter fuel load.
Be interesting to see what the gap is between the top 3 and Montoya at the end of this lap, as they've all now made their first pit stops. But Michael Schumacher doing the business as ever and managing to put in enough quick laps himself. He must have done a great outlap when he made his pit stop, because we know how quick Ralf had been, and yet he still came out ahead.
And once again, Jarno Trulli finds himself caught between this battle for the lead of the race. Remember when Trulli held up Ralf Schumacher in the stadium, Ralf gave him a friendly sign. Well, he's going to go all through that process again. Montoya in 4th place, and I'm sure he will feel, I don't know what he's going to feel right now, but frustration may be a part of it.
Well, that was pretty quick through. He was very on the limit as he came out of turn 11 there, over the curb, the car twitching around, looked fantastic, but he's got a lot of time to make up.
So Barrichello third, some 2.3 seconds behind Ralph. Ralph 3.9 seconds behind Michael. And we're waiting for the computer to update us on where Montoya is. 11.8 seconds behind Barrichello for third place.
Yeah, so effectively he's closed up a bit on Barrichello, but lost out in the overall terms. He's 18 seconds off the lead car of Michael Schumacher. So we've got an interesting second sector to this race coming up now, as everybody just tries to close up. We just saw Fisichella in the background. Raikkonen is still currently running in fifth. Oh, Fisichella, was that Fisichella running wide?
I think it may have been.
That was a battle with Fisichella and Sarlo at the hairpin, and I think Fisichella went wide.
Well, there is Jacques Villeneuve, the back of the gearbox area behind the engine, and clearly, finally made it back to the pits, much to the disappointment of Ralf Schumacher. And we think also Fisichella had a problem when he was in the pit lanes. We think he may have actually stalled as he was about to leave pits, so that's the reason why he's now back behind Mika Salo, but probably more critically for Fisichella behind his own teammate, Sato, running cleanly and happily, all by himself in 10th place.
Just saw the Saubers go through the shot. It's still Massa ahead of Heidfeld after their pit stops, but they're running down in 8th and 9th places.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya on his first flying lap is en route to do another quick lap, fastest of all in Sector 2. 10.6 seconds, he's taken 1.2 seconds out of the advantage of Rubens Barrichello. Now that's a bunch of time. It'll not happen every lap, but no doubt it'll throw a collie wobble or two into Rubens Barrichello.
Yes, he'll be a little bit nervous about that. Ralf Schumacher makes his way down into the hairpin, passing Jarno Trulli, and this time there's no problem between them. He gets through cleanly.
And I think Ralph was slightly apprehensive. He didn't force it, he didn't put him under pressure. He assumed that Trulli was aware. Trulli stayed well to the left. Ralph gets through, no time lost, and that's how it should be done.
Michael Schumacher ticking off the laps here, 17.7 last time around. 32 laps have been completed. We're approaching the half-distance mark, and Rubens Barrichello still third place for him, but he is some 2.8 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher.
Yes, coming out there on lap 33 of 67, so it is almost, you should say, half distance, and the battle for the lead between Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher, Barrichello and Montoya has been a battle of wits as much as a battle in the pit lanes. This man, Schumacher, Ralph, lost out because of Jacques Villeneuve not being aware enough of what was happening in the pit lane, and Barrichello also charging, trying to run down the 3.3 seconds he is behind Ralf Schumacher. Montoya once again 1:16.693, not the quickest lap of the race, but the quickest lap of all the leading cars.
The Saubers have swapped over again. Heidfeld's just overtaken Massa, and I don't know whether Massa has a problem, but he certainly seemed to lose a lot of speed to his teammate as they came through the hairpin. He was lapping faster in the last few laps, but suddenly Massa has to give way to his teammate.
Yeah, on the last lap there was about 0.2 of a second, but Massa now clearly running. Look, here we see the two Saubers side by side down into the hairpin bend.
Just to let you know, we've got information coming through that Jarno Trulli has picked up a drive-through penalty for not obeying the blue flag signals.
Yes, and that was primarily because of the issue with Ralf Schumacher. He should have let him through on the pit straight. It wouldn't have cost him any time. He's not really in the race today. Nevertheless, the penalty is if you don't obey the blue flags and the blue light, the warning light in your car, and if you go past it more than 3 times, then you will receive that drive-through penalty.
Yes, and he's getting the blue flag again, but he's coming in anyway to take that drive-through. So here he comes, and Jarno Trulli, it's just been a horrible afternoon for him. The Renault not having the race pace they hoped for.
Juan Pablo Montoya, under 10 seconds to Rubens Barrichello. Now it's down to 9 seconds. It was 9.5, down to 9 seconds. Barrichello, that lap, 17.8. Montoya, 17.3. The charge is on. And we're now just at the half distance of the 67-lap Grand Prix.
Meanwhile, Michael Schumacher's got some more traffic to deal with himself as he comes out of the hairpin. Takuma Sato is the yellow car just ahead, and the Japanese driver looking for another finish gets very well out of the way there and causes no problems at all. Looking through this new section, out through the right-hander there, you can see the car really drifting out towards the edge of the track. And Schumacher now turning into the Ajip turn, the one that brings them back in front of the massed grandstands. The top 3 have certainly separated a little more. There's 3.3 seconds first to second, and then another 4 seconds back to Barrichello in third place.
Well, this is the reason for the blue flag. This happened somewhere way back in about lap 27, 28. There's the hand comes out, the wave of the fist, And Jarno Trulli, I think, well and truly knew once he'd seen that he should have let them pass at this part of the racetrack coming into turn 1. And he pays the price. 10-second stop-go penalty, and no doubt even worse from Flavio Briatore after this race.
Both McLarens are still running in the top 6. Kimi Räikkönen is currently in 5th place. David Coulthard is 6th. In fact, Coulthard just putting in a fastest personal best time to the first sector, so he's still on a bit of a roll, but they're running 5th and 6th, and their pace is not that good. They're certainly not on the same pace as Williams at this race, and it's funny how things go at Manicourt. McLaren seem to have the edge over Williams. Here, clearly, Williams have got the edge over McLaren.
Yes, and I think that the big difference between the two circuits is the nature of the corners. There's no long, very testing corner like Grand Curve or going through Estoril, which was really hurting the Williams team. Here, it's very much more a question of point and squirt. This very flick, almost right-hander, turn 7, doesn't load the car up particularly, certainly in no way compared to Manicourt.
Felipe Massa still running, and there we are with David Coulthard, currently running 6th, as I say, an 18.2 on that last lap, so it's not too bad, but comparing to a 17.4 for the leaders.
But he's closing up to Kimi Räikkönen, the gap by the lap. He's a second a lap faster that last lap. Whether Räikkönen has a problem or he's just catching his breath, the gap was 8.3 seconds on lap 35, it's now 7.3 seconds on lap 36.
So we're riding with David through the hairpin. Glance in his mirrors. Well, there shouldn't be a lot in his mirrors because his teammates, or in fact, his teammates ahead of him, and Olivier Panis behind him, some 16 seconds behind him. So there's really no one to look out for except the leaders when they come up next time. And actually, it's not that far away. Michael's just going around the hairpin at the moment.
No, a bit of an ignominy for the team to find themselves before the end of the race facing the prospect of being lapped by race leader. Ron Dennis did tell us prior to the race that he thought that their strategy and tyre choice would come to them. They know their car is easy on tyres. They're buoyed up by that fine performance last weekend. Well, this weekend, not so the case, but they've still got 31 laps remaining of this 67-lap Grand Prix, and that's not played out too early.
The computer prediction just showing us there that he is closing on his teammate Räikkönen. 6.5 seconds the gap between the two of them now, and Coulthard definitely catching up to his teammate.
Well, Räikkönen's running in the 119s. In fact, the last lap, 119.4, was 2/10 slower than his previous lap, and that gap between... Räikkönen's got a puncture, I believe, left rear it is. That's the reason why Kimi Räikkönen was losing time. The left rear, he's picked up something, no doubt, in the tyre eventually. Has just said, I've had enough, and cried, and that's what you see. Look at it, look, watch that left rear, and it already has gone down. Well, that was somehow or other he'd picked up a puncture. The tyre eventually loses the pressure, it superheats, and eventually it just says enough. So, huge disappointment for Kimi Räikkönen and his chances of maintaining that 5th place.
No,
and
that's
a big
great
lock-up,
shame.
and that's it there. Well, that's the tyre, in fact, rather than the lock-up. Down at the hairpin bend.
They do look very worn, those rear tyres, John. If you wore that one, look at the one on the other side.
Take it easy, Kimi. All you're going to do is tear the rear of the car and the suspension apart. He's got to stay out of the way as race leader comes through.
Look at the bits of rubber.
3 wheels on my wagon, and it's all over the place.
Into the gravel he goes. He's got nothing he can do about it at all. No grip on that side of the car. The yellows come out.
Good aerodynamics for the aerodynamicist. Got a good idea of how the underbody and the diffuser on the McLaren works. Replay that one a few times, guys. You might learn something.
He's got a left-hander coming up. At least he might be able to make it round there. But the two corners coming back into the pits are going to be hard work because they're two right-handers. Here was the moment where the tyre really started to shred. Watch for the bits of rubber here. They started flying off big time. There we go. Oh, and Trulli's out.
Well, what has Jarno Trulli done? And that, we're looking to see that's down in the Sachs curve, in fact, and just putting Jarno Trulli out of his misery. Has been an unhappy afternoon for the Italian, and off at the Sachs curve. Looks a fairly unforced issue. So just parks the car gently into that tyre barrier, jumps out. There we see Räikkönen gets back into the pits. Difficult to get the jack under that rear. Brand new set of tyres go on. Fuel goes in. Changes the strategy for the McLaren. Well, you have to check that left. That left rear still being checked to make sure there's no damage to any of those suspension components. It's critical. Now, if Kimi came in too quick, well, he's out of the pits. They had to have a look and make sure there was no damage. When a tyre flails around like that, it's literally like a scythe and can take out the carbon fibre components in the suspension quicker than you could say Kimi Räikkönen.
Well, there was certainly not a lot of tread left on the other rear tyre.
And Coulthard has just gone by and put a lap on his teammate.
Yes, indeed. So that drops him out of the top 6. It brings Olivier Panis up into 6th position now. And the BAR Honda driver will be pleased about that. He is some 18 seconds behind Coulthard. Now, what else is big? This was Trulli when he went off.
Oh, he just locked it up. He just locked it up. I mean, that's a bit fundamental and rather sad because Trulli's better than that.
Yes, he is. But, you know, he has made mistakes in the races. This was another view of the tyre shredding and detaching from Raikkonen's car.
Well, that will make a few home videos somewhere this year.
Well, I don't think Michelin were going to be able to learn a lot from the wheel that came off the car. But maybe they're going to chase that one that's gone down there.
I'll tell you what, the race to get down there between the Bridgestone technician in disguise, looking like a German race fan, and the Michelin guy in full Michelin team gear, that's going to be worth watching.
Yeah, that'd be fun to see. Ralf Schumacher then, still in 2nd place. The gap between himself and his brother now 5.5 seconds, and he's now trying to cut his way through this traffic past the Saubers. Massa, the car ahead, then Heidfeld. They're both just outside the points at the moment. Massa moves out of the way and Ralf cuts through cleanly. Barrichello a little closer on this lap. I think traffic is helping the 2nd Ferrari driver stay in touch with Ralf. Just 2 seconds the gap between them last time across the line. Montoya is now 10 seconds behind Barrichello, so although he put in some very quick laps after his pit stop, Montoya, he now seems to be a little bit stuck at that same interval to the top 3.
Well, Ralf Schumacher finds his way past Felipe Massa, gives himself a little breathing space before Rubens Barrichello comes up, but I'm sure fellow Brazilians will work somewhat together. But the gap between Michael and Rowe, and that's Olivier Panis, who has been in 6th place, spins down at turn 2.
That's not an unusual thing to see Panis make a mistake at this stage of a race. Usually very consistent, pretty reliable, but something's happened, and that will bring Heidfeld up into the points now. One of the Saubers in the points as the battle between Sauber and Renault continues. There is the stricken car of Olivier Panis.
Well, it's all over. He's lost the engine. Now, was that cause or effect again? And David Richards and the BAR team talking to Olivier Panis. But when the steering wheel comes off, it means the engine is shut down. And now he must put the car, select the neutral on that external switch, get the car pushed or craned away to safety. And a potential point score for BAR has now gone with Villeneuve's car in the pits. Olivier Panis out down at turn 6.
Oh, that is so disappointing.
Turn 2.
Turn 2. He's been running so well all weekend and looked confident. And we don't know exactly what caused it, whether it was a mechanical issue that pitched him into a spin or whether it was a mistake. We might get a chance to see.
Well, he turns in, looks like maybe a left rear brake. There's just a black mark, and that might have been enough just to snatch the rear of the car around.
It did look odd, didn't it? It almost looked like it wasn't a puncture, but it looked at the way it let go.
No, that wasn't a puncture, that was a mechanical or gearbox something. You just see a black mark as the car just turned in from that left rear, and that to me was a mechanical problem, or it's just simply a brake problem, but maybe most likely to be a seizure of some description.
So Panis will not add to his points tally of 2, which he scored from Silverstone, and he has to walk away very sadly. But it does mean that Sauber have moved up into the points, as I say. Nick Heidfeld just being lapped here by Ralf Schumacher, and he has now moved up into top 6 himself, so all the runners up to 6th place have been lapped, and Coulthard, the next one who could be lapped, he's running in 5th place, some 60 seconds off the race leader. If he drops to 77 seconds behind, then indeed he will be a lap behind.
They're just getting confirmation from Olivier Panis' team that there was something with the gearbox, and it was that caused the back end of the car to lock up and then spin, and once it had happened, it was all over Red Rover.
Oh, it's a very disappointing day then for BAR. They've lost both their cars, and we're down to 13 cars running in this race. If we include Raikkonen in that, he is back out on track, of course, Raikkonen. He's still running, but well down the order after his puncture. And it's almost the level of attrition that we used to expect from the old Hockenheim circuit, which put such a strain on the engines with its long straights. We thought the attrition may be slightly less this year, but doesn't seem to be the case. We're down to 13 runners as we watch Ralf Schumacher. There is the race leader, Michael Schumacher. Still a lot of brake dust coming up as he breaks into the hairpin. His advantage up to 8.1 seconds, though. Big lead now over Ralf Schumacher. 25 laps remain, and we're approaching the point where we might see a second round of pit stops, and indeed Sauber are getting ready.
So pit lane once again going to be very busy. Remember that Montoya had a fairly short stop. Ralf Schumacher's stop was impeded by Jacques Villeneuve. Ferrari drivers had fairly straightforward services, but the pace that Michael Schumacher is able to run at right now in this middle distance part of the race, I suspect Ralph will say my second set of tyres, I didn't have the same balance or same grip. There can really be no other reason.
Well, looking down the order, we've seen the cars that have gone out. Panis, Trulli, Villeneuve, Button's out, so is Alan McNish. A long list of retirements, also including Mark Webber and Heinz Harald Frentzen, and of course, remember Pedro de la Rosa, who went out on the opening lap. Into the pits comes Felipe Massa, running in 7th place, just outside the points, coming in for his second scheduled pit stop.
So Felipe Massa, one of the earlier pit stoppers, in fact I think he was the first in, so comes in as the first for the second round of stops. This is lap 43. So the young Brazilian sits there, Sauber engineers go to work. Fuel hose still attached, clock ticks away, 9.4 seconds.
And away
he goes down the pit lane.
Yep, he gets away cleanly, looking to get both Saubers into the points if they can. At the moment, Heidfeld in 6th place. Back on track then, Felipe Massa. We're looking at the view from over the rear wing of the Brazilians' Sauber. Both Saubers still running well here, and almost a home race for them. Well, it's about as close to Switzerland as they're going to get, and they're both running reliably at the moment. Nick Heidfeld in that point-scoring position. Felipe Massa with a bit of space around him. This is a replay of Kimi Räikkönen. Now he is back out on track with the new tyres on. What else has been happening,
well,
I wonder?
Just check around the bodywork and see if any of those bodywork parts have been attacked. There you can see the rubber build-up and maybe a little bit of damage to the left rear of that bodywork. That's the result of the tyre that shredded, flailing around, and it didn't get the suspension, but it did get the bodywork. Michael Schumacher, new lap record once again, extending his advantage over brother Ralph to 8.9 seconds, and it is remorseless.
It is. It looked like Williams had an answer for Ferrari in their first sector of the race, but this middle sector has really seen Michael Schumacher manage to pull away, and the advantage up to nearly 9 seconds over Ralf Schumacher. Barrichello still 3rd though, so Williams still in a battle to hold on to 2nd place, and the question is, will Ferrari manage a 1-2 here in Germany, or will Ralf Schumacher prevent that with his Williams BMW? Montoya still running in 4th, remember, but he's some 10 seconds behind Barrichello. And then there's a huge 42-second gap all the way back to David Coulthard running in 5th, and McLaren, who again is a further 27 seconds ahead of Heidfeld in the Sauber.
Down through the field from Barrichello, Coulthard, Heidfeld, Fisichella and Felipe Massa, they're all producing fastest first sector laps, quite deep into their second run on second set of tyres. Barrichello does it in the second sector as well, 2.6 seconds behind. He's getting a message that due to imminent pit stops, get up as close as you can to Ralf Schumacher, because when he comes in you'll have clear air, and we want you to maximise Nick Heidfeld in the pit lane.
Yeah, Heidfeld comes in. Now can Sauber service him efficiently, get him back out safely and maintain his 6th position. Sauber have been in the points at Hockenheim before. For Salo, he in 2000.
Takuma Sato has come in behind, so the Jordan and the Sauber fighting. There were 6.9 seconds on the last lap. There you see Sato pulls into the Jordan pits as Nick Heidfeld leaves it, so that 6.9 seconds we keep an eye on. Jordan, because they're further down the pit lane than the Sauber team, they're one pit further down. Heidfeld's out. Takuma Sato makes his way now as well, and Sato scenting the possibility of scoring a World Championship point.
Yeah, that would be his first, of course. He's not scored any points so far this season, and he's running in 7th place at the moment, now that we've seen some pit stops, but that will drop him back down because Massa has made his 2nd stop, and Massa is back out in front of the Japanese driver as we look through and see Fisichella also heading round, waiting for him to make his
Ferrari,
2nd stop.
Was this Michael or is this Rubens Barrichello? It will all depend on position on track, but equally importantly, where would he go back in? As we see, and now there you are, blue flags, Kimi Räikkönen, get out of the way, Kimi. If you don't, you will be in trouble. Rubens Barrichello, he's the first Ferrari in, so get him in, get those Bridgestone tyres on. I wonder what Kimi Räikkönen is doing. Is he going to fall foul of the same rule?
They got a problem with the fuel rig, John.
Oh, disaster for Barrichello.
This in the battle for 2nd. It doesn't look like Ferrari are going to take a 1-2 because they did not get the fuel going in and they had to rush back get it back on, plugged in and away now. Hopefully Rubens will be able to go. It always happens to Rubens.
21.2 seconds, and that's going to put him into the zone of Juan Pablo Montoya.
Into the pits also, Giancarlo Fisichella, as he had moved up to 6th with other people making pit stops. Bernoldi also in the pits at the moment, and they're the tyres as we await for Michael Schumacher to make his pit stop.
So Rubens goes back out, and he will be wondering, what have I done? What have I done to deserve this? I worked tirelessly for Ferrari, and whenever something goes wrong, it goes wrong for me. Michael Schumacher in the pit lane.
So he comes in with a 9.6 second advantage over Ralf Schumacher. That's a good, comfortable distance, so he can afford to just take his time a little bit.
But, you know, the fuel rig, let's see whether there's a problem for Michael Schumacher or that support rig that is in the pit lane. No problem whatsoever from what we have seen. Fuel rig, 8.5 seconds. Juan Pablo Montoya comes through the final 2 turns onto pit straight. Will he get out of turn 1 and be ahead of Michael Schumacher? Well, there's Schumacher. It's going to be close, but I think Michael will do it.
Yep, and Montoya still to make his second stop, comes flying through turn 1. He will be pretty close to the Ferrari as they get onto the brakes into turn 2. But now I think the Ferrari will be able to stretch out an advantage once again. There's the view back to Montoya. But remember, Montoya still will lose a good deal of time when he makes his second stop. For the moment, Ralf Schumacher is the race leader.
And amazingly, even with fuel on board, okay, a new set of tyres, and Williams now preparing for Ralf Schumacher or Juan Pablo Montoya. I suspect it might be Montoya because he had a short change fuel, but Montoya took a very small amount of fuel from memory. I don't know whether they can let him stay out or not.
Yes, he may have started a little heavier as well, but let's wait and see. We would expect Ralf to be coming in earlier, and this is our opportunity. Let's wait and see. We would expect Ralf to be coming in earlier, and this is our opportunity. Coming through the last 2 right-handers. Is he tightening the line? Yes, he is. He heads back into the pit lane. Ralf Schumacher comes in. It is going on to lap number 48.
Where's Jacques Villeneuve? He's not there.
Not this time, thankfully, for Ralf. But that really would have hurt him last time. And Michael Schumacher will retake the lead. He'll be coming over the start-finish line in a few moments.
Just fuel, no tyres.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Just refueling. There goes Michael. Ralf does get going. Montoya comes across the line as well, of course, having not made his stop. And look for the background. Ralf will just be rejoining in the background.
There he is now. He was right at the far end of the pit lane. Interesting that Michelin and Williams did not opt to change those tyres. Ralf must be happy with the balance after all. I speculated maybe he wasn't so happy because he dropped back from Michael Schumacher, but there he is, back out, refueled, no new tyres.
Well, what he does have is a big gap over Rubens Barrichello. Remember how close they've been all race? Well, now Barrichello's only just turning into turn 2. As Ralf went too early. That was interesting.
Well, what were they doing? I don't know why. The fueler was well out of the way, but the lollipop man said, no, 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 wait.
And indeed, it was Ralf who was looking. He was looking in his mirror at the fuel, at the refueling rig. He wasn't looking at the lollipop man. So as soon as he saw the rig out, he let the clutch go and off he went. But as you say, the lollipop man hadn't lifted it. So not quite what he was waiting for. Montoya now we're expecting to be coming in on this lap.
And look at the rubber in the track. You can see how much the track has changed. This was completely resurfaced. The grip building up all the time, but he dives into the pit lane. And this time he'll probably take on board a little bit more than we saw going into Ralf Schumacher because of that slight short changing of fuel on his first stop.
So heading down into the Williams pit area. Brings it to a halt. Now changing tyres on this car, I think they are.
Yes, they are. Rears, well, certainly front's going on. And that's interesting. Ralf did not have a change of tyres. Montoya does. Barrichello comes through, but look, there's the situation. Montoya, where's Barrichello? There you just see him. So he's coming out ahead of Barrichello. Barrichello lost out massively because of that refueling rig problem.
That's the crucial battle, yes, indeed. Montoya now moves up into 3rd position, effectively, and Barrichello finds himself back in 4th place. So Ferrari's hopes of a 1-2 are right out of the window, and Williams now have a good opportunity to score well. And remember, Ferrari still haven't wrapped up the constructors' battle. This will keep it going for a bit longer.
And this is the problem with the refueling rig for Rubens Barrichello. And then eventually, well, what's going on? No, the fuel hasn't gone in. They go back in. Oh, disaster. So David Coulthard in and out for the 2nd time this afternoon. And this has been a disappointing Grand Prix for McLaren.
Away he goes, but Coulthard, most he can hope for is 5th place. Eddie Irvine still running in the Jaguar, 13th position at the moment, and we've got a blow-up. That's Enrique Bernoldi who is out. Somebody else has run wide.
Felipe Massa, we think, has gone on to the grass. And that was coming out of the... there's the remains, the smoky remains of Bernoldi's, Cosworth engine arrows. And just cutting very quickly back to see the incident coming out of that as-jeep turn. Felipe Massa did manage to make it onto the grass, onto the, well, more the gravel. In fact, it was Nick Heidfeld. There's the blow-up. Sorry, Felipe, it wasn't you. It was actually Nick Heidfeld.
So coming off the track, and there is the view. That was indeed Nick Heidfeld, who ran wide coming through the as-jeep corner and rejoining the fray once again. Of course, he's running in 6th position. So fairly crucial that he doesn't make a big mistake here.
I tell you, he may not be in 6th position at the completion of the lap, or if he was, the gap to his own teammate has reduced pretty substantially. He would have lost 3 to 5 seconds with that little expedition into the gravel and the grass.
Yes, and indeed Massa is closer to him, but Heidfeld still has the advantage in 6th. Now Irvine's still going, which is now 12th position after we've lost the car of Bernoldi from this race. 12 runners, I'm afraid. That's all we have still going, and we've still got some 16 laps to go, as you can see from the lap counter at the top of the screen. 16 laps remaining in the German Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher some 9.7 seconds ahead of brother Ralph, but and still Michael working.
Yes, he did. You know, you cannot relax. Michael's still pushing. He's just got under a 10-second advantage over his brother, but there through turn 2 you could see that suddenly the back end just snapped away. So he's now running in the 118s, the 1 low 18s, Ralph in the high 117s. Montoya is the man, of anyone, on the charge, running of 17.0, but of course 22 seconds behind Michael, 13 seconds behind Ralph, and we have now on lap 51, we've got 16 laps of this Grand Prix remaining.
Yes, he's only about 6 or 7 seconds behind Coulthard now in terms of lapping the McLaren, so that's a great disappointment after they had a possible victory last time out, beating this man Michael Schumacher with Kimi Raikkonen and Manny Kuhr, and of course Coulthard was 3rd. A fantastic day in France for the McLaren team, but it's not that way at all here. Raikkonen suffering a blowout. He is still running, but he's down in 11th. And David Coulthard just not really able to drag much performance out of his car. He's in 5th.
Interesting, Michael again short shifting. We saw that early in the race from others. He's doing the same thing, just maintaining a comfortable rhythm around the 1:18.0. Not being challenged particularly, though. The team will tell him that Ralph did take 0.4 of a second. In fact, it was 0.3 of a second at the end of lap 52. So Ralph Schumacher getting the hurry up from the Williams team. And there are the championship battle for that second place, if it remains as it is right now at the end of this race.
Yes, the figures in the white boxes showing what the points situation would be with Montoya and Schumacher. Ralph, that is, would be tied in 2nd place on 38 points, and Barrichello dropping back slightly. Well, we have to see. Both Williams have yet to make it to the finish of this Grand Prix, and they have had their reliability issues at times during this season, remember. So they've still got to count off the 15 laps to get the 2 spots on the podium.
Well, for all those fans of Sauber, you've got their 2 drivers, Heidfeld and Massa, fighting away like a pair of ferrets in a bag. Just under 2 seconds between the two. Of course, Massa being helped by Heidfeld's off as they came into the stadium. So Felipe Massa battling away for that last point. Heidfeld 6th, Felipe Massa 7th.
Yes, that's going to be a tussle to the end of the Grand Prix, although Peter Sauber will be very strict that they don't actually take one another off. That would be a complete disaster, as all the points are so crucial at this stage of the season. Irvine gamely continuing with the Jaguar. There is Ralf Schumacher in 2nd place. There's still that gap, much the same between Michael and Ralf. It's 9.4 seconds as they cross the line this time. Let's just ride on board with Ralf for a moment.
Well, around turn 6. Well, if I work it out, there's actually turn 2. He's on this long straight, down into turn 6.
Look at the way under braking, how his head and his neck just sort of compress. You really see that so clearly.
That's why you don't have the traditional Sunday meat and 2 veg before you get into a Grand Prix car. You just need to be very careful about diet, hydration in a race like this, with the high ambient temperatures, high track temperatures. Make sure you take plenty of liquids on board in the form of food and natural liquids, and all the hard work over the winter time, the preparation a driver goes through, this is when it pays dividends. can almost see his head he's forcing his head to the vertical to avoid the severe loads, even in a low-speed corner like the Sachs curve.
Yes, and of course nowadays these cars are running because of the new layout of track, a lot more downforce through this section, so they're generating a lot more sideways G-force, particularly this corner, quite fast right-hander, where this leads back down towards the new section. So we've ridden on board with Michael, we've ridden on board with Ralph, but they still have a 10-second gap between the two of them. Is it banana time? No, it's not banana time for Ross Brawn. It's a drink of water time as he waits to see whether this is going to be yet another victory for Ferrari. Looking for win number 154, they are. And of course, Michael Schumacher looking for only his second victory at Hockenheim and his first driving a Ferrari.
Well, everything right now looks as sweet as a nut for Michael Schumacher. He's used that pole position to full advantage, pulled away very quickly from his brother Ralph, and then the lap times and his advantage over Ralph has hovered around the 9.5, 10 seconds varies. Basically, all Michael now has to do is run at the pace that Ralph Schumacher's running at, and right now on lap 54, this is 55 of course, Ralph was marginally slower than Michael. So one might think, has Ralph given up? We saw him do that, I thought, in Brazil. He's 10 seconds behind. We'll wait to see what it is at the end of lap 55. Has Ralph still got enough fire and fight in his belly to try and run down his brother?
We'll wait and see. A 17.7 as he crosses the line. That's 2/10 faster than Michael on the lap.
Well, there's a glimmer there, but I think it's just like the embers.
It is, yes. Montoya runs in third place. He put in a quick lap last time, although this time it's a 10th slower than Ralph Schumacher, his teammate. The two Williams running second and third, of course. Barrichello still running in fourth place, but he doesn't seem to have an answer. He had that slow pit stop, and he hasn't really been able to lap quickly enough to close back on Juan Pablo Montoya. So Barrichello in fourth place, then Coulthard in a rather distant fifth position, and Michael Schumacher still getting closer and closer to the back of the McLaren Mercedes, but not yet quite within range to lap him. Nick Heidfeld in sixth place, with Massa some 4.2 seconds behind. Just looking at the slow-mo of the Ferrari, this superb 2002 car, which has been the dominant force of the 2002 championship, particularly with that man at the wheel, 5 times world champion Michael Schumacher.
And contrast that to Eddie Irvine, the last car in the field, 3 laps down on Michael Schumacher, running in the 121s and running about 4 seconds a lap slower than Michael. And I thought maybe Jaguar had turned the corner, but maybe they've gone back in reverse.
On board then with Schumacher, Michael this is. Let's ride with him a moment and just enjoy the sound and scene. Well, we'll switch off just as I say that, of course. We don't get the chance to listen to the V10 at the moment. The Ferrari working well though, and this is the overhead view down into the revised hairpin. Such a tight corner, huge amount of runoff on the outside there, and then accelerating all the way back up towards this Mercedes-Benz grandstand.
It's almost as quick as that camera. There's a remote camera which accelerates with the cars. Now, I've never seen a camera on a, I mean, that is a very impressive piece of technology that the German organisers have put into place. At one time I thought it was a low-flying helicopter or something, but it isn't actually. It's a remote camera. I don't know what it's charged by, what motivates it, but it doesn't have to get underway.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Not quite able to accelerate the Ferrari, but not far off. And Michael Schumacher brings it back into the stadium. Ralph here in second place. And he said he loved the track. On Friday he was talking about how much he enjoyed these revisions that have been made by Herr Hermann Tilke, the man behind the Malaysia circuit, the revisions to the Nürburgring as well, and everybody fairly pleased with what he's done here at Hockenheim.
And again, you can get this view, this impression of speed that sometimes other cameras don't provide you. Very much almost the driver's eye line, not quite so to the left, but very much the same perspective that you get as a Grand Prix driver. And the corners come up mighty quick these days.
Yeah, look at this into turn 1. Flashes over the curb on the right-hand side. And now down towards turn 2. This is where they used to go into the forest, of course, for several, well, it seemed like ages before they got down to that first chicane, even though they were doing speeds of 220 miles an hour. This now the fastest section of the track, and they are still getting up to just about the 200 mile an hour mark here. The speed trap located just about at this point before they get onto the brakes, and there you can see it was a 313 kilometre an hour through there that time, but Montoya has done 320 kilometers per hour in the race, and that is exactly 200 miles per hour. Now listen to it through the next section. Feathers the throttle and then back hard on it. And now into the stadium. Beautiful sound of the crisp gear changes, those automatic gear changes. They can be done manually by the driver from the paddles behind the steering wheel, but they can also just be set automatically to change up and down at the various points around the track. And very crisp, very fast. It's amazing how quickly these systems change gear. Ralf Schumacher still in second, Montoya third, of course, and Barrichello in fourth. It's all about Williams and Ferrari here at Hockenheim.
Well, we had hoped it would be about Williams, Ferrari and McLaren. Well, David Coulthard got trapped for a long time behind Jarno Trulli, but Kimi Räikkönen ran strongly in fourth place. And then he did have a major problem. He had a tyre delamination that may have been caused by a puncture. The consequence was that he had to come all the way around the circuit from the most distant point, and in doing so he shred lots of rubber off, and that also affected one of the rear brake ducts. So he's now got a rear brake problem, which one of the rear brakes is going off the clock, the other one's running at operating temperature. And I think also it's probably affected some of the aerodynamics around the back of Räikkönen's McLaren. And Räikkönen, sadly now, he's still running well. 1:18.1 was his last lap, but a lap down in 11th place.
8 laps to go then around this 2.8 mile track. And Eddie Irvine's going very slowly indeed in the closing stages of the Grand Prix. And he looks to be in trouble. De La Rosa went out of the first lap. He's made it to lap number 59, but he's in trouble.
Yeah, Jaguar prepared for him to come in. And I mentioned Eddie a few minutes ago running very slowly. He'd been in the 121s. He did a 120 on the last lap. So they're getting, the team are preparing a set of tyres, and whether it's a tyre problem or whether it's something more serious than that. And Eddie just does everything possible to get out of the way, which of course is what you should do. Yeah, well, that's a pretty unusual one to lose brake fluid. Probably the fact that Eddie just has no brakes at all. He pushes the foot in the brake and the pedal goes straight to the floor. Although these are dual systems.
No brakes.
Well, that's the reason why up in turn 2.
Call it a day.
Now that's it. Quick decision made there by the engineers. No point if there's no brakes, you do not carry on, and there's no point in trying to fix that. So Irvine is out, I'm afraid, adds to our list of retirements. We just have 11 cars running.
It's interesting what we were hearing from Ron Dennis, saying that Kimi Räikkönen has got a problem with the braking because of the damage by the tyre. Nonetheless, in 11th place, he's running at the same speed as David Coulthard, who's running in 5th place. Now, David hasn't got a problem. Why is he not running any quicker?
This is about the only battle for position that's currently taking place. Giancarlo Fisichella just behind Mika Salo. Salo running in 9th place. Fisichella is 10th in the Jordan. It did look good for him to score points today, having started in 6th position on the grid, but that slow pit stop, he had a big problem in one of the pit stops, really dropping him back down the order, and that's why he's now behind the Toyota of Salo.
And if I may answer my own question, in fact, the reason is that David Coulthard doesn't need to run any faster. He's some 43 seconds ahead of Nick Heidfeld in 6th, and David himself is some 45 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello. So quite simply, all David is doing is going through the motions, counting the laps down, and just doing the best he can. But Räikkönen's still young and keen and doing the best in spite of a rear brake problem.
Yes, indeed, but Räikkönen down in 11th place, so there's not much prospect, I'm afraid, of him scoring any points. Riding in trouble. Fisichella's in trouble. You heard it, you saw it as it happened. And as he reports on the radio, he has no engine, and there's the proof.
And I mean, that is what live television on board is all about. Sad for Fisichella, disappointing for Honda. And Giancarlo Fisichella, having been a star in qualifying, starting in the 3rd row of the grid in 6th position, climbs out of his Jordan. And, well, he was only in 10th place at the time. Takuma Sato now carries the shoulder of responsibility for the team, but in 8th place, 9.7 seconds behind Massa in 7th, and well, he's some 15 seconds away from getting a point.
Well, he certainly picked it out straight away. He's on the radio virtually as it was happened, and well before the smoke started emanating from the back of the Jordan. we have just one Honda-powered car left out of the four that started this Grand Prix, and that is Takuma Sato, currently running in 8th position.
Well, everybody outside the top 4 is now lapped down as we ride with Nick Heidfeld, the last of the point scorers, in 6th place. And, oh, not an off. There's an off. That's Mark Webber.
No, it's one of the McLarens, John. It's Raikkonen. It's Raikkonen who's gone off.
Is that the result of the brake problem? That's in turn, the final turn, the south curve. Coming onto pit straight. And I just saw the back wing, the black back wing. And Kimi Raikkonen, look at the look on the faces of the entire McLaren team in the garages saying, well, you know, why was he doing that? He didn't have a problem and he wasn't under threat. All we wanted him to do was bring the car home. Well, give him marks for trying.
Yeah, and of course, this just shows how Grand Prix racing can lift you so high one week. 2nd place and nearly the Grand Prix win at Manicourt, and this time he's out of the race. And indeed, it's interesting, looking down in the pit lane, Williams are preparing for a stop now. I wonder what that's all about.
Well, there we see Kimi well and truly backwards before he gets to the Sud curve. And that barrier very close to the edge of the track. Claimed Rubens Barrichello, and well, not many serious damage to the car. As you see, his foot hard on the brakes, and there the gravel not doing very much to slow the car down. Wallops the right rear, but this is the Williams team.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens here with Ralf Schumacher. Which one of the cars is due to come in? And maybe it is a concern about tyres, although they don't have tyres ready yet, unless they're keeping them, but they don't actually have tyres sitting down there in the pit lane ready for him.
It's strange, Ralf is coming in. It's a strange decision because he didn't change tyres on his second stop. He's some 15 seconds ahead of Montoya, and I doubt he's going to get in and out. He's going to lose a position with this.
So what's going to happen here? Ralf Schumacher, let's see what the team do. And they're clearing out. There's something going on around the side pod.
Hydraulics, it's the pneumatic system on the engine, we think. So there's been a bit of a leak. So the pressure that operates the air valves was the problem. So Ralf Schumacher loses that position. In fact, he's in danger of Rubens Barrichello now coming up behind him. So while Ralf was looking forward, so that used to happen in the past. It's not so frequent these days, certainly not very much in a race. Usually when that pressure goes down, you usually find the valves are sort of bouncing around your head.
Well, Ralf Schumacher, then what a shame for him, because it means he's pushed back down to 3rd. Williams still running 2nd and 3rd because Montoya now comes up to 2nd place, but Ralf Schumacher, who's driven so well, kept the pressure on Michael in the early stages, could not maintain that pace, particularly in the 2nd stint, but he doesn't deserve to have dropped back down to 3rd place, and obviously mechanical problems for the Williams.
Well, that's a cruel blow for Ralf Schumacher, who now has got a revitalised Rubens Barrichello. Looking at the rear of this Williams BMW, there's Ralf. Barrichello just comes out. I assume that Ralf will be able to run again at the speeds he was doing, but Barrichello instantly responds with his fastest of ever in that 2nd sector. So no doubt the Ferrari team are saying, get a move on, we could make it a 1-3 for Ferrari.
Well, I hope Rubens didn't back off at all in those last 10 or 15 laps or so, because if he had, that might have been his opportunity to lose that 3rd position. We'll have to wait and see what happens as Ralf Schumacher back in the fray once again. Just 3 laps to go then, and Michael Schumacher looks all set for victory here at Hockenheim. Poor Ralf Schumacher will not make it a Schumacher 1-2 after his problems, having to top up the air system in the car by the looks of things, and that has meant that he now only has a little advantage over Rubens Barrichello in the 2nd Ferrari. Montoya has therefore moved up into 2nd place, and the other point scorers look fairly settled. David Coulthard running in a lonely 5th, and Nick Heidfeld in 6th.
Well, we're sympathising with Ralf Schumacher. Nonetheless, I think it's fascinating that Formula One is able to monitor every aspect of an engine, a Grand Prix car, and anticipate a problem that would otherwise have seen a massive blow-up for Ralf Schumacher, and they took the only decision available to him. Get him in, we'll put some more air into that system and get him back out. He lost the position, but only to his teammates, so the team haven't suffered in terms of the championship point, but Rubens Barrichello clearly being asked to hurry, the potential to get some more points.
Michael Schumacher has lapped David Coulthard now, So, well, it's happened earlier on this year. It certainly happened at Imola. He was lapped when he finished in 6th place there. And I'm afraid it's happened here in Germany on Mercedes' home ground, John. It's a bit of an embarrassment to be lapped.
Actually, Ben, what's happening is Michael has actually backed off, and Coulthard's closing up. Michael's last lap was a 1:20.9. Coulthard was a 1:19.5. And with now just 2 laps remaining, I wonder whether Michael will do something which he would not normally do, just give David back his lap, or whether he's going to bother at all.
Yes, he's changing up very early now. You could hear using much less revs. Listen. Accelerating out of the hairpin here. Certainly not putting the same sort of revs that he was in the early stages of the race, and that's fairly conventional. He will do that towards the end of a Grand Prix, save the engine, look after it, reduce the number of revs between gear changes, and hope that it lasts the distance. And it only has to last the final 2.8 miles for Michael Schumacher to win yet again and take his 2nd German Grand Prix victory.
And Michael Schumacher comes into turn 2, a corner that caught many people out the scene of a lot of action, a lot of it due to mechanical failures, as Billy Weber, the manager of Michael and Ralph, calculates what this is going to mean to the future for the family, and no doubt another deal will be on the way to being concluded as Willie flies back home to his home in Stuttgart.
It's record equaling time once again for Michael Schumacher. This will be his 9th win of the season, to match a record that he himself has established several times, and Nigel Mansell, the only other driver to have achieved that. 9 wins in one season, and we still have 5 Grand Prix to go. Surely that is another record that will go to Michael Schumacher this season. But what matters for him at the moment is that it's happening here at Hockenheim in front of his adoring fans. The last few corners to finish off, and Michael Schumacher can celebrate his 5th world title taken in France with yet another victory here at Hockenheim. The last right-hander, the fist in the air already to punch his way through. It's the last lap, the last checkered flag. The checkered flag comes out, and Michael Schumacher wins in Germany. David Coulthard a lap down, unfortunately taking the line in 5th position. But Michael is the winner, and the fans are over the moon about that. It's not a 1-2 for Ferrari. Montoya takes 2nd place, Ralf Schumacher 3rd.
Super race is pretty tough.
Well, Ross Brawn, yes, talking to Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello comes across the line in 4th.
Oh, sorry for Rubens and Ralph, was a shame. Fantastic done.
Again,
Well done, Michael.
huge emotion in his voice.
Explain to me what's going on. Fucking hell. What a tough first stint, I tell you. Oh, hard work.
Well, as we anticipated, it was a hard Grand Prix, and Michael confirms it.
Indeed. Well, the high temperatures and the nature of this track, indeed, making it tough even for the best. Michael Schumacher showing us that even he can struggle sometimes. It was a comfortable victory in terms of time, especially once Ralf Schumacher had made that extra pit stop towards the end. But he was in a battle, particularly in those early stages.
Yeah, it's a great race in those first 10-15 laps. And really, no one was quite sure what the strategies were going to be, if anybody was going to try and be very tricky or clever, but it panned out that everybody made 2 stops. But once again, Michael Schumacher and Ferrari, total masters of Grand Prix right now.
Yeah, he is the master, and no doubt he'll carry on throughout the rest of the season. So, delight for him, delight for Ferrari. But Williams have made some progress, John. They're much more on the pace with Ferrari in this race than we have seen them in the last few.
They've had to do something, because clearly their performance at Manicourt wasn't up to their standard, and they weren't able to do anything at Silverstone. It's been tough because they've got a car with certainly an engine the best, equal to the best, whether it's because of the engine characteristics, whether it's because of the design of the aerodynamics on the car, whatever it is, the Williams team are going to have to work very hard to put themselves back onto par, but they appear to have begun that job here this afternoon. Still not good enough to beat Ferrari head-to-head on merit. Nevertheless, when they go to the next Grand Prix, the Hungaroring, that will be an interesting outing for Ferrari, McLaren and Williams.
It gives Montoya second place clear of Ralf Schumacher in the Drivers' Championship. They were to be tied if they'd finished as they had run throughout much of the event, second and third. But now Montoya has a clear advantage, as you say, before they go off to Hungary next time. Michael Schumacher doesn't have to worry about points anymore, although in the Constructors' Championship it was useful for Williams to get both cars on the podium. Just the 10 points maximum, once again going the way of Ferrari, and Barrichello still picking up useful points for Ferrari down in 4th position. So in that Constructors' Championship, Ferrari continuing to pull away. McLaren, Mercedes in 3rd place, of course, still some way behind Williams, and they had a chance to perhaps close that gap up here, but it didn't come together. Renault and Sauber scoring that 1 point for Heidfeld, so they've closed the gap up very slightly once again, but none of the other constructors getting a look in the NBAR holder. Looked to be getting 1 point for Panis, but it went wrong for them.
Well, just listening on the Sky Channel to Ross Brawn talking to Peter Windsor and confirming what we saw from that onboard view of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari, that they were suffering from tyres and the blistering that we saw. So really what they were trying to do above all was just consolidate, control, not trying to run away by a country mile as they might like to have done otherwise.
He makes his way in and the flags are flying all around the stadium here in Hockenheim. They are celebrating this man's achievement once again, and having won for Benetton way back in 1995, at last he has another victory to celebrate here with Ferrari.
And just also finding out from Ross Brawn that the reason that Rubens had a problem in the refueling wasn't in fact because of the refueling equipment, it was the refueling flap, which should be selected or opened when you select first gear coming in the pit lane. It didn't open, and that was the cause of that refueling problem for Rubens Barrichello. So it usually means you've got to sort of put something into prise it open, but not ideal. But again, it happens to Rubens.
Well, Michael's really pleased about this one. We heard that he felt it was a tough race. He feels as though he's earned it, and it's been a long time since he was able to celebrate like this at Hockenheim. He's put a lot of bad memories of first corner accidents and poor reliability behind him. He's now completed more than a Grand Prix season's worth of races without a retirement, and he can put behind him that non-finish that he had here 12 months ago.
And just getting a very quick glimpse at the Williams as well, they suffered from blistering on the Michelin tyre.
Yeah, well, certainly there were a lot of stories from that race, but they're the results. Schumacher the winner from Montoya, and Ralf with Barrichello 4th for Ferrari, and solid reliability from both of those two top manufacturers. And indeed from McLaren, it was only the puncture that cost them points for Raikkonen. So Coulthard taking 5th, Heidfeld 6th. Good reliability amongst the top teams, but less so amongst the lower teams. We saw an awful lot of cars out. Only 9 cars finished this race, and that's a little bit of a surprise to me. Might have expected it on the old Hockenheim, not so much on this revised track.
Well, Gerhard Berger again on the Sky Channel just explaining that they still are a long way away from Ferrari, but you know, they think they've stemmed the issue, and hopefully they can claw back something. But he thinks that it's really going to be next season, and the work that will then go in the development and wind tunnel, and also maybe to some degree within the control of BMW, because they've got this real monster of an engine, and sometimes the engine characteristics are a significant contribution to how a chassis performs. And maybe if they could soften up some of the power delivery and make that a little bit easier, it would maybe help Williams a little bit more.
Well, I don't think these guys will all be heading home too soon. They want to enjoy and savour the moment. There is Michael up on the podium. And just listen to that.
It's unique in Formula One. You know, there's nowhere else in the world I've been to where you get that support and absolute adoration from the race fans.
the German national anthem and the Italian. Once again, we're getting so accustomed to that this season. For the 9th time, Michael Schumacher has taken victory in 2002, matching his existing record and that of Nigel Mansell's. And, well, maybe next time out in Hungary, it'll be time for win number 10. A lot of people managing to get onto the track, a bit of an invasion taking place of the track itself, which might not be viewed too happily by the authorities, the racing authorities. Second place for Montoya. Well, his lady there certainly very happy about that, but it was, of course, going to be third until problems for this man, Ralf Schumacher. In the end, Williams having to settle for second and third. They really didn't quite have the answer to Ferrari, but they were very much closer than they have been in the last few Grand Prix. But what does it take to beat this man? That's the question. He is the best in the world, and he's driving for currently the best team in the world.
Well, it's a bit of a daunting question, and there's no real encouraging answer, because Michael Schumacher and Ferrari have got every reason to believe that there's nothing going to stop them continuing on next year, taking a 6th Drivers' World Championship, winning the Manufacturers' Championship again, and with suggestions that Michael might actually extend his contract from 2004 through to 2006. Well, who would want to be a Grand Prix driver these days in the Michael Schumacher era?
Well, I don't know. I think Montoya and Raikkonen and these guys, they'd all love to have a pop at him. It's just having that opportunity, but I don't think they're afraid of giving him a run for his money, as long as they've got a car capable of doing it. Hello, the celebration.
Ralph very unhappy, I think. I mean, he's clearly, you can see in his face, disappointed that second place went to his teammate, having been very much the dominant Williams BMW driver here this weekend. But we'll go into the press conference in a few moments and we'll get their version, 3 different versions indeed, of this weekend's German Grand Prix.
Yeah, well, that's given him a huge amount of pleasure. We saw the relief last week when he wrapped up that 5th title. And this is just pure pleasure for Michael Schumacher this time. The pressure of the championship off him. He could just focus on the race victory. And he's come home with the trophy. And Rostel, great smile. Good work from the team today. Barrichello, it didn't work out for. And that just that little incident with the fuel flap not opening, on such things can races be won or lost, or indeed a podium finish be lost. And that's what happened to Barrichello here today.
Well, Michael gets a bit of splash back. It's not a very good idea to literally pour champagne down your throat from that angle and that volume. Well, what the hell does it matter? He's done a stunning job. He's won his Grand Prix. He's done it just the weekend following the tying up of the 5th World Championship. And Juan Pablo Montoya's girlfriend, companion, Connie Fidel, chatting to other friends and guests in the paddock. And she looked pretty happy with that second place for Juan Pablo.
Well, it brings him into second place in the championship, and I'm sure that'll give him reason to cheer, but it was somewhat inherited after the problems for his teammate Ralph. But there again, that's the way it goes, and how many times have drivers had problems and dropped out of the race entirely, and through the action that the Williams team took, they were able to get Ralph to finish this Grand Prix, and that was the crucial thing. Still get onto the podium. It could easily have been a non-finish entirely for Ralph.
Yes, and this issue about the air valves, and there's a little cylinder on board the car which is filled up, and that keeps the air valve actuated, but if there's a leak develops, then the air pressure goes down, and that's what the BMW engineers in the Williams pit were able to monitor, and they really had no option, because if they didn't bring him in, that car would not have finished.
Well, the fans have got this chance to have a look around and see what's going on as the drivers make their way into the press conference. And in just a few moments, we'll be hearing from the top 3, Michael Schumacher, Montoya, and Ralf Schumacher. Let's just see how happy Michael is.
Yeah, looking at those flags, the crowd, you'd think you're actually at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza.
Almost. Well, let's go and join the top 3 now.
Congratulations, gentlemen. An enormously long, hot and exciting German Grand Prix, with victory going to Michael Schumacher, second place to Juan Pablo Montoya, and third place to Ralf Schumacher. Michael, your 62nd win of your career, your 9th of this year, but you said yesterday after qualifying you really wanted to win the German Grand Prix for Ferrari. Now you've done it.
Yeah, no, everybody knows that that hasn't been the case so far. in the 7 years I'm driving for Ferrari, and it's without words, honestly, because we have achieved so much in this year that it's amazing. I only thank God that He was giving me this opportunity. The team again did a fantastic job. It was a very tight battle today between Ralph and myself, and but I think the German fans really loved that, and it's a shame, obviously, what happened to Ralph. Would have been nice to have 2 Schumachers in first and second position, but I'm sure we get more opportunities maybe in future. Anyway, I'm more than thankful to have been able to achieve this result. Thank you.
Now, you were saying something on your team radio on the slowing down lap about your first stint, because it really looked as though you had to push incredibly hard. You made a good start, but you were really, really right on the edge in those first 20 or so laps.
Yeah, I think all of us today, we struggled a little bit with the temperatures. Tires started to blister quite a lot, and especially in the first stint. So I really had to fight very hard to sort of keep this advantage we had, and we started to lose it actually towards the end. So we were a bit concerned what would happen with the next set of tyres and so on. But thanks God, the tyres stayed together with the second and third set, and that was the base for the victory in the end.
Michael, well done. Thank you very much. Juan Pablo, you were fighting early on with Kimi Räikkönen. That was one of the most exciting battles of the race. We saw you coming into the stadium side by side. How did you enjoy that?
It was really good. I think, that really cost me most of my race. In the start, we went up the line really well, and then suddenly the car just bugged down, and, Rubens pulled away and Kimi went by me, and I think that really cost me. Took me quite a few laps to go by him, then I went by him, and we started, I started doing the same pace of the guys in front of me. But it was just way far, way too back, and, sometimes it's better being lucky than good.
But talking of luck, it was looking as though, even though you were just edging in on Rubens Barrichello, that you weren't going to get second place, and yet here you are sitting second because of Ralph having some disappointment right at the end.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's racing, and as I said, sometimes, I've been in pole in the last 5 races, and out of the last 6 races, this is my best result, and I wasn't on pole, so.
Well, there's a new approach. Thank you, Juan Pablo. Ralph, Michael said you were chasing him really hard, a long, hot afternoon, and then you had to make that extra pit stop at the end. No new tyres went on, no fuel went in. What was the team doing?
Well, it was a very disappointing day for all of us, I think, for the team and myself. Everything went wrong, which could have done. I was held up by some guys with a blue flag. Couldn't do my pit stop because someone in front of me was so slow. And then at the end, we had to come in and to do just a safety stop because we were having a problem in the engine.
It also looked as though you had a problem in your second stop when you tried to leave. There seemed to be a 2-part movement, a bit like the one that Juan Pablo had earlier this year.
Yeah, there was a misunderstanding. Simply the lollipop wasn't quick enough, so I started to go without the lollipop being up. That's why I stopped again.
Not your day, Ralph. Tough luck.
Totally not. But anyway, here we are, being second and third, good for the team. We have had worse weekends, I would say.
Ralph, thank you. Back to you, Michael. An extra week between this Grand Prix and the next one in Hungary. Are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, certainly, because we have, I think, good reasons to celebrate, and I really look forward to have that time for my family, to take some time off and then just relax and take or recharge batteries for the last part of the season, which still we have to win the Constructor Championship, although it's a very comfortable position we're in, but still we have to do this, and races to do whatever is the point situation, championship situation, still is a big enjoyment, and I look forward to this, to have some more battles and fights.
Michael, thank you very much. Now, Michael, Juan Pablo and Ralph, if you'd like to speak in
a
your
rather
own languages, starting
Ralph
with
in that
Michael.
press conference, John. I can understand that. He obviously things did not go according to plan at all for him, but somewhat down at the end.
Yes, very much so. I think he, first of all, being beaten by his teammate through really no fault of Juan Pablo Montoya's, and then you could see he would have accepted second place to Michael. Third place to Juan Pablo is not acceptable, and he was unlucky. He caught in a bad place. Trulli paid the penalty for that with a drive-through penalty. Then he had other problems coming in the pit lane when Jacques Villeneuve was having a Sunday afternoon nap. And then, of course, that problem with the engine, which he didn't go into detail with, but was basically related to the air valve, the reserve bottle they have. They run out of pressure, basically. So it was potentially a second place, and you never know, might have pushed Michael harder, and ends up being a third place.
Well, that's the way it goes, as Montoya said, to a certain extent. He's had his problems as well. But a shame on German soil for the Schumacher brothers not to be able to celebrate a 1-2 finish. But for the rest of the season, it does bode well. Williams certainly getting to grips a little bit more with a race setup as opposed to a qualifying setup, which they've done in the last few Grand Prix. They're beginning to knock on the door, but they still could do with a few little problems for the Ferraris to actually come through and take the win.
Yes, of course, going on to the next Grand Prix, that's in 3 weeks' time, the Hungarian Grand Prix, on an entirely different circuit, a very low grip circuit. Average speed in the middle to lower ranges as well, and totally different demands on the team. It's a maximum downforce circuit, again probably running the same kind of mechanical setup that you would run somewhere like Monte Carlo, which is quite strange bearing in mind that Monaco is not as fast a circuit as Hungary. Nevertheless, the grip levels are fairly low, so new challenges to come up for everybody in the paddock.
Well, let's take a look back over the highlights of today's German Grand Prix, which has been run in perfect conditions. The breeze has been blowing, and the celebrations of the opening of the revised track taking place before the race itself got underway. The fans gathered in their thousands to celebrate Michael Schumacher's 5th world title, and he was only too pleased to receive their praise and their applause. Some interested visitors, including Jean Alesi, on the grid. But Rubens Barrichello had problems before the race even begun, as his car was pushed away and he had to come out in the spare car.
Well, a very relaxed Schumacher brothers and Juan Pablo Montoya prior to the start of this afternoon 67-lap Grand Prix. When the lights went out, it was all Michael Schumacher, and that's how it stayed.
Yep, he made a great start. Ralph from the dirty side was not able to do much. Barrichello managed to squeeze out Raikkonen and Montoya. Irvine went on a slightly wide line, and Fredson was stranded, although he would rejoin for some laps later in the race. Meanwhile, Battle's Jenson Button was not very happy, and his car wasn't performing at all well. This was the battle, though, between Raikkonen and Montoya.
And a fantastic battle it was, this sector of the lap. Montoya and Raikkonen side by side through about 5 corners. Eventually Montoya got the job done, but Raikkonen, look, he's still not prepared to give up, and it's only now coming into the Sachs curve that the young Finn says, okay, I can only do so much, I'm only human after all.
Well, that kept the team happy. They loved to see their man racing hard, but Button didn't have much that he could do. Trulli, in fact, this was Trulli dropping back behind that whole stream of cars that were trying to get past him. Patrick Head and Gerhard Berger were in close discussion, as Ralf Schumacher felt that he was held up by Jarno Trulli and wasn't happy about it.
And he was held up because Trulli had to serve out that drive-through penalty. There we see a sign we saw in Manicourt, a Toyota blowing up, but no such sign of anything but perfect reliability from Ferrari. Of course, unless your name's Rubens Barrichello.
Yes, if your name's Rubens Barrichello, it is a slightly different story. Schumacher had a very straightforward pit stop and was straight back on his way. There were no problems for him. The two Saubers were busy putting on their own show, and Heidfeld moved up into 6th position.
Well, you can see how much brake dust coming out from David Coulthard's McLaren as he locks up, but then a big problem for Kimi Raikkonen, his left rear tyre. A delamination could have been caused by a puncture, could have been something more serious. He makes his way back to the team, but in doing so creates additional damage around that left rear corner.
Well, it was disappointment for him. It was disappointment for Jarno Trulli, the Italian, as well. Locked up, went off for his own mistake up at the Sachs curve, and that was all over and done with for the Renaults. And then Olivier Panis, who looked set to be a point scorer here today, also suffered a mechanical problem, pitched him into a spin and out of the race. Rubens came in, but the fuel flap did not open, and it took Ferrari a while to refuel him. That was how he lost 3rd position, and his podium finish therefore going the way of Juan Pablo Montoya. It looked like Montoya would finish 3rd. It was to prove better than that later, but Bernoldi was out of the race.
Yes, and for Tom Walkinshaw, further agony to add to that he's already suffering. A blow up from that Cosworth V10 engine.
Heidfeld held on to 6th place despite the attentions of teammate Felipe Massa, but Massa wasn't able to lap at the same pace later on. And then we saw more problems for Fisichella, the engine failing on the Jordan, and Kimi Räikkönen eventually spinning out of what had been 11th position.
Yes, a lot of action in the last parts of the race. There's the moment we saw Ralf Schumacher make that last dash into the pits to replenish the air bottle that actuates the air valves on the BMW engine.
But Michael Schumacher came through to take the win here in Germany, the 9th win of the season for him, win number 62 overall, and looking towards another new record of number of wins in one season. He's hoping for that come Hungary in a few weeks' time. So Montoya was able to celebrate a 2nd place, and 2nd place now in the Drivers' Championship. But Ralf Schumacher, a somewhat disappointed 3rd after being able to challenge his brother in those early stages.
But interesting to hear from Ross Brawn on the wall after the race, and from Michael, that this was no walk in the park Grand Prix. It was a physically tough Grand Prix. It was hard on the equipment. You saw a high proportion of the field retiring, and tyres in particular were just on the edge, with both Michelin and Bridgestone suffering from blisters on those tyres, and the concern as to whether that tyre choice was the right one or not.
So it's been the end of a couple of weeks of very busy activity for the F1 teams. Back-to-back Grand Prix is tough. Now they have a chance to pack up and go home and have a little bit of a rest with 2 weekends off. This is the only time throughout the season where there are 2 free weekends before returning to Hungary. So as Michael Schumacher was saying, an opportunity for him to unwind, spend some time with the family and relax, and he's looking forward to that.
And also what Ferrari did this time last year, the entire team had this coming week off, and then they went back to work the following Monday in preparation for the Hungarian Grand Prix. And I'm no doubt after the celebrations that will take place here tonight in Germany and then back in Italy, that is a well-earned break for the guys down in Maranello, because they are doing, in reality, an outstanding job in spite of the problems that Barrichello appears to have. I don't understand it. Why one driver has all the problems, another driver is completely trouble-free.
Look at these guys. They're great. The German fans, and they've got to all make sure that they walk the right side of each other, but they were. And just
where's
part
the tread?
Of
Can you see any tread on that
Not
Michelin
at all.
tyre?
Not at all.
Well, that's Jarno Trulli's car, and there's a hint of one on the front. That could have been Button's car, in fact. Or that was Trulli's. That's Button's car brought back. Of course, he didn't get terribly far either. But again, high little tread is showing. Big disappointment for Jordan. They really, I think, believed they had an opportunity of sneaking a point here this afternoon. Giancarlo Fisichella's 6th place in the grid, but it didn't work out for Jordan, and Fisichella eventually retiring with an engine blow up, and Honda left scratching their heads.
Well, Takuma Sato is very happy. He's had his best result so far in Formula One, and that's great news for the Japanese driver, who's been building, well, early in the season was building a bit of a reputation for being wild and never making it to the finish. Well, he's finished 8th here, and that is his best result so far. Not in the points yet, but not too far off.
But it was a mature drive from Takuma Sato, and pretty much a mature weekend from the young Japanese driver, and having suffered from being seen to be very fast but very crash prone, now maybe beginning to develop a little bit of sense and maturity, and also looking to stay in Formula One. And as yet we don't know what the Jordan plans are in respect to their drivers. Clearly they would want to keep Fisichella because he's a little punter that a lot of people in the pit lane would like, and if Sato can claw back some of the expense, maybe let's put it that way, that he incurred for the team, he could find himself in for a 2nd year.
Well, there's no doubt about the delight of the fans here at Hockenheim. Their man has come through and has taken victory. It's been a long time coming, but they're not all Ferrari supporters.
Can you believe it? A little model of a Williams, it already crashes into the curbing. So race fans in Germany go to extremes. I've never known any country in the world where you find autograph books, magnificent albums of drivers, of photographs, of every bit of memorabilia, and as soon as they see one of their heroes, they descend on them like vultures.
Well, looking down the pit stops today, of course, remember Trulli with the fastest time was a drive-through penalty. So, in fact, Ralf Schumacher ended up with the fastest normal stop, although that may well have been on the time that they replenished the air system as well. Not a normal stop, that, and they certainly were pretty quick doing it.
Well, there's something a bit unusual, isn't it? Looks like one of those dogs with a lot of extra skin. Well, there's a well-earned refreshment from the hospitality side of the Jordan team, and well, they'll be, like everybody else in the pit lane, working flat out to remove the team within a team. The way they build up their garages with all the facilities, the light, the heat. Well, they don't need much heat here. The air, all the facilities that enable them to work as if they were back in their base, be it Silverstone or down in Maranello. And still an absolutely glorious afternoon. And I suspect maybe it'll be a glass of Rhine, Vine, Riesling or something of that nature, being a nice chilled glass of white wine right now would go down a treat.
Sounds good to me. As Schumacher is lauded, Ferrari praised to the heights after another dominant performance from Michael. Well, I say dominant, not quite as easy perhaps as he might have thought, but it worked out for them perfectly in the end. And of course, in a few weeks' time, as we've mentioned, they'll be heading off to a very tight track, the Hungarian Grand Prix, taking place near Budapest, and a track that is always one where qualifying is crucial, almost as crucial as Monaco, because there is a distinct lack of overtaking possible during the race. You depend on pit stops and strategy, but actual wheel-to-wheel overtaking is always tough in Hungary. Last year, it was the victory for Michael Schumacher, and in fact, last year it was where he wrapped up his 2001 title. Well, this year he's already got that all sorted out, so no great problems. It was a track that we saw the Williams struggling a little bit for pace. Ralph qualified only 4th, and Montoya qualified down in 8th place. Last year the Williams car didn't work so well on the twisty tracks. It's a little bit the case this year, but not so much, I wouldn't say.
No, I think the Monaco situation helped them a little bit, and also Montoya was his first year last year, and tracks like the Hungaroring are maybe a little bit of a specialty circuit. It is a very low grip surface. It's not a particularly high-speed racetrack. It requires a specific setup. It requires a lot of downforce. Now, Ferrari are a team that have got that downforce, but in a particularly efficient manner. Williams are still working on that, and no doubt they will be working at it in the intervening period. But also, it's a matter of how the tyre, chassis, engine, all those elements, are they going to work for you? Are they going to work against you? Clearly, the former is what you want.
Well, it was a Ferrari 1-2 last season in Hungary. We'll have to wait and see whether they can achieve that sort of performance once again, but Williams showing that they are prepared and ready to challenge and prevent the Ferrari steamroller continuing throughout the rest of the season. Well, people beginning to make their way home after a day that has made the fans very happy indeed. They've been camping by the side of the track, or just in the environs of the track. A lot of fans camping over the course of the weekend here. They've moved some of the campsites around, but still huge numbers of people have been staying all weekend. Now it's time for them to start heading home, and they'll all be very, very happy indeed. I suppose it could have been better if Ralph had managed to finish in 2nd place, but Michael's their hero, and he took the win.
Well, I think that the fans got the victory they wanted. They maybe didn't get the two brothers 1st and 2nd, but I think overall what has been the biggest success has been the success of this revised Hockenheimring circuit. It has produced a Grand Prix which we've had some phenomenal excitement, some huge disappointments as well, and a racetrack that you really, okay, those may be bemoaning the 4 long straights, the 220 odd miles an hour down the straight, but at the end of the day we've seen a 67 lap Grand Prix, and I think the fans would agree there is the answer. That really says this change to Hockenheim has been 100% right, and I look forward to seeing future Grand Prix here. Now I wonder what a wet Grand Prix on this track would be like. We've seen the potential of that when we had the old track. Let's see what happens in the future, but for sure it's going to be a fun place to race in the rain as well.
Yes, indeed. We've had wet races very recently. There was rain in the 2000 race that Barrichello came through to win, although it didn't rain throughout. But before that, you have to go back to 1988 for the last wet Grand Prix here at Hockenheim. So it does tend to favour dry conditions, and it's been glorious all day long. Certainly the best weather of the entire weekend. It was cloudy and overcast on Friday and Saturday, but as the weather forecasters said, it's been bright blue skies and sunshine all day for the race itself. So I hope you've enjoyed our coverage. It's been another interesting race. Those early stages, fantastic battles in the midfield particularly. Michael Schumacher did not have it all his own way, particularly in the early laps, and Ralf Schumacher took the race to Michael, and for a while it looked as though he might have a chance to challenge. It didn't go Ralph's way in the end. He had to settle for 3rd place, And Michael Schumacher is heading towards history again with the most wins in one season. Our coverage here on the Super Channel is about to come to an end, but Master Channel continues with interviews. From Ben Edwards and John Watson, until next time in Hungary, goodbye for now.
Ben, and he did have the good grace to say he felt sorry for Rubens. I wonder if he knows any more than us about why Rubens always gets the wrong end of the wedge.
I think it was genuine there. You hear him on the radio there to Jean Todt saying, you know, I don't know what happened, and I feel sorry for Rubens and Ralph to a certain extent. He's genuinely, you know, kind of like that in victory, but it does seem that he gets the luck, and he once again is the Lord of the Ring.
He is, and what he's done for that team, not just as a driver, but I mean, Peter Wins is always telling me it's his team. It's built around him. It works the way he wants it to work, and he does talk genuinely about his affection for the team members within it. He brought his own team there, effectively. Yeah, and that is the key, you know, and you'll see that. I've mentioned it, obviously, with David Richards and Jenson Button earlier about how it is about building mini-empires, and if you can build a team around yourself, then these are the sort of results you're going to get. And there's no question he's handpicked those guys. These are the same guys that were with him at Benetton, I'll use that name again, but when he won those 2 titles there, same team. And Ferrari, he has definitely been given carte blanche to create, and I say he, but with Ross Brawn and Rory Byrne and Jean Todt, the team that they want. Let's have a word with a member of that team, as just mentioned by you. Ross Brawn is with Peter.
Ross having a nice conversation there with Michael. Congratulations, another brilliant win, a faultless day for Michael on a very, very hard day for the cars and the drivers.
Yeah, we were suffering a bit with the tyres the first stint. I mean, he was making very good progress, and then we got worried about the tyres. We knew it was marginal today, so then we just tried to control the pace after that, because we were very worried that the tyre might give up on us, and so it was a controlled race. It was very tough.
Another unlucky day for Rubens, though.
Yeah, I need to see what happened, because something went wrong on the entry of the pit stop, and the fuel flap didn't open. So we need to go and have a look.
And on the grid?
He felt the gear change wasn't very good, and obviously with, let's say, a little paranoia from the last few races, he had the spare car, so we thought we'd use it. The spare car's generally been pretty lucky for people, so given that we had enough time, we thought we wouldn't take any chances.
Thank you, Ross. We'll let you go away and enjoy the podium.
Enjoy the podium. Fuel flap didn't work. I wondered about those, because do they flip up automatically when they hit the speed limiter?
They're supposed to.
Rubens didn't.
It didn't, no. Well, everything's supposed to be automatic. Everything's supposed to work. Now, they have actually redesigned those fuel rigs since the early designs in about a year ago, recently. So, you know, but they still have problems. We saw Williams having problems before. But interesting what he said about, it definitely seems that Rubens was the one that made the decision to change cars, or was apprehensive. And therefore, if there's a bit of apprehension, for the first time ever, he had the choice to change it, and that's what he did. And I think, you know, quite rightly, I mean, a lot of, you know, working with a driver is to make him feel comfortable, and if that's what it takes, go for it.
OK, we can have a word with live now with Gerhard Berger. Gerhard, thanks for your time. Second and third, that's a good result, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great result, especially we've been much closer to the winner this time, and that is very good for us, because the last few races we've been very strong in qualifying, but in race conditions we've been far away. So it's a good improvement and great result.
Let's talk about that gap between you and Ferrari. Is it getting closer, actively closer? Is the end in sight?
No, I still think it's a long way to go, but today, I mean, Michael been at 10 seconds ahead, but I think he's still good advantage in it. But this year our goal is to finish second in the championship, and I think today we came again closer to it. But still, it's going to be very difficult to stay ahead of McLaren, and that's our first goal this year.
A quick word about this revised Hockenheim track. What do you think? It took its toll, didn't it?
Well, I love to remember the old track. I mean, it was had a big tradition, and I could win it twice, so of course I loved it. But I have to say, on Friday when I went around to this circuit, I think it's great. It's a good run-off areas, it's challenging. It's just a modern circuit.
Gerhard, thanks for your time. Good luck next time out.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
He's always happy to talk as well. He was as a driver. He's got the laid-back sort of attitude that maybe is missing nowadays in this modern high-tech world.
I was at that race in Hockenheim when he won in '97, and he was great. He talked to everybody. And I mean, you know how you've been talking about the PR guys all being around, and it's so true. But that day, he just held court and stood there, and all the journalists, everybody forgot about everybody else, and we sat there for an hour and just listened to Gerhard talk. I mean, Senna used to do the same, and of course, they were great friends.
With Michael.
Yeah. Starting and ending with Michael, because we won't bother with the German lesson just here. So we've got two Schumachers there, one happy one decidedly grumpy one, and a Colombian who's worked out that you don't need pole to get your best result.
Yeah, I don't think he's too worried about pole anymore for Juan Pablo. But, yeah, I do feel for Ralph there, because, as I said at the beginning of the day, I thought this was going to be his day. And I know Michael lined up on pole, but no interviews on the grid. He was looking more focused. And you just got the feeling that, you know, and obviously, as you heard from Gerhard there, that Williams have progressed, but not to be. And really, no fault of Ralph's. He was as fast as anybody on the day, and you just wonder if he hadn't had those problems, what might have happened.
Wandering down the grid, and a point for Nick Heidfeld. He'll be happy with that. It's his home race too, after all. Yeah, and, you know, as the silly season continues, he's still unconfirmed, as are several others. So, yeah, good day. An important point. Everybody who's scoring points right now, when there are, you know, seats up for grabs, very important. I say that one Schumacher was grumpy. One Ferrari teammate ought to be the grumpiest bloke around. It'd be interesting to hear from him if he's not already heading for the airport, as he did last week, didn't he? And then turned around when he heard that the bloke had won and he better go back and do the corporate thing.
But, you know, the thing about Rubens, you know, he'll put it all behind him. I don't know, he puts a stoic face on it, that's for sure. But you would never get that out of him. You'd never see him drop that veneer and say, oh, I can't believe it. I mean, he gets angry, but he knows that, like Ralph said, it's racing, that's what happens. You know. But, yeah, it does seem to happen to him a lot more than anybody else. And it must be so frustrating, especially given the circumstances of having the spare car and all the rest of it, that he still has problems.
I wonder if he'll ditch the guest house routine, the one that he adopts.
It didn't bring him much luck today, did it?
Prix, yeah.
Yeah, back in Hungary. Well, as always, I think most people are in guest houses in Hungary, so maybe And actually, looking ahead, you know, that could be an interesting race. Michael's looking forward to it, but it's such a tight and twisty track, that one, even tighter than we've just seen here, and that might throw something up.
OK, let's have a word now with David Coulthard. David, thanks for your time. You're in the points, but is that enough compensation, do you think, after your endeavours today?
Well, certainly from where I started, that was realistically the best I could hope for. But I think that rather than taking too much excitement out of those 2 points, if you actually look at how competitive we were on this circuit, it's a complete reversal of what we saw in Magny-Cours 1 week ago. And obviously the biggest thing that's changed since then is the tyres. So you have to say that Bridgestone did a better job this weekend, and Michelin brought a tyre that was working much better on the Williams than ourselves.
We spoke to Ove Anderson during the race for a brief time, and he did say that he thought he'd been misled by tyre choices. Now, I don't know if he was blaming the Michelin guys or whether the weather had taken him for a ride or whatever. Did you find that, given the chance again, you would have chosen differently?
Well, conscious of the fact that I got into trouble from John last time I did an interview of giving too much information. I don't know if I tell you anything.
Oh, God, he's not even listening.
OK, in that case, we went for the prime. We would have preferred to be on the option. Michelin told us I would blister. As it happens, the prime did blister a little bit in my first set. The second 2 sets were from qualifying, so obviously they'd had a scrub on them, so they were fine. So on balance, their information was correct, but I believe we would have been quicker on a set of scrubbed options than we were with the scrub primes.
More information than a boy could possibly want. Let's just look ahead to the rest of the season. It may be over as far as the title is concerned, but it's not over, is it? There's a gap to be closed. How near are McLaren to closing down on Ferrari now?
Well, I think as we've seen, the gap has fluctuated a lot during the middle part of the season. I think realistically we're just working away trying to develop our package, and I don't believe that we'll be able to turn things around until we have a completely new package for next season. So we're probably going to float between the third row and the podium in terms of finishes between now and the end of the season.
Keep up the good fight, David, and I won't tell Mr. Watson what you've told me. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, yet again, but Williams gets second and third place, sharing the podium, and that should be good news for Sam Michaels, who's with Peter now.
Congratulations, you certainly beat the McLarens today. Very unlucky race for Ralph, he drove beautifully, and I guess he lost a bit of air pressure in the engine at the end.
Yeah, we had a problem all through the race on Ralph's car with the pneumatic pressure, and we had to top it up at both pit stops, but the rate of decrease of the pressure in the last stint was too high. Unfortunately, it was only short by about 2 laps, but he knew we made him push for that middle stint to make sure he had enough of a gap on Barrichello, so from a team point of view, we didn't lose any points, but obviously he lost place to 1. But Ralph drove a fantastic race, and it's good to see that we changed quite a few things between Magny-Cours and here on the car, aerodynamically and electronics, and it's good to see that they all came together, really. The pace is definitely there. We made pretty happy with it, really.
And amazing that you didn't change tyres on the second stop.
Yeah, the changes that we've made have obviously made a big step towards looking after the tyre. Obviously, some of our competitors had problems on tyres, but we didn't. So.
Were you worried when you saw that problem with the Raikkonen left rear?
No. The changes that we've made keep us fairly confident that we know what's going on.
And Juan Pablo?
Fantastic drive from him as well. He obviously got held up in the first 10 laps, and we gave him extra power on the engine to get past Raikkonen, because you could see that he was being damaged by about a second a lap. And he obviously had a big go and made it work for himself. So,
well done, Sam. Good result.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Bye.
Is it the case then that they don't care who comes second and who comes third, or are they aware of the personalities involved?
No, they are aware of the personalities involved, but that's for their personalities. He is a team member. All they care about, as the 45 members and everybody back at home, is that the team come in second and third, or at least as close as they can get to Ferrari as possible, and hopefully going in a direction. They're happy today because they beat McLaren. That's the reason they're happy.
Eddie Jordan, I wonder if he's happy. His drivers, one qualified well and blew up, and the other one finished, which for Takuma Sato is good going.
Eddie, good result for Takuma there on a very, very hard day for mechanical components.
Well, this is true test, and I think that's why you saw towards the end a lot of drivers, particularly Michael, taking it easy for the last couple of laps. He'd done all the hard work. Same for us. It's important to finish. These are hugely difficult circumstances. The temperature here, as you can feel, is quite enormous, and now with the circuit enclosed in a stadium, there's really no free air, and it's very difficult for the drivers, and you can see the problems that they wear with tyres, and we never see punctures like we saw today.
Do you think in retrospect that the hard Bridgestone would have been a better choice for you?
It probably might have been, but it's a catch-22 situation. Unless you're at the front to be up with the guys in the beginning, you're held up by people who are either doing 1 stop or 2 stops or lots of different problems. And unless you're at the front to have a chance of being with them, you don't really have a chance of scoring points. So I take your point, but on balance, I think we probably came away with the right decision.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Well done.
Thank you.
He's always happy about what his lads have done and what his team has done. He puts a very positive front on things.
I think that's the whole Jordan ethic, and that's why people call it the family team, and they like to be around, and they like to go to the hospitality, because that's the atmosphere, and that'll go on now through Sunday night. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think it's important too. I wish a few more teams would look at it that way, which is, hey, it is only a sport at the end of the day. I know it's serious business, there's a lot of money, but Eddie keeps a smile on his face, regardless of the results, and keeps going forward.
This is the man who should have the biggest smile in the stadium. How would you like 10 or 15% of Michael Schumacher's earnings? How would you like 10 or 15% of his brother's earnings? How would you like to be Willy Weber?
Yes, Willy, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
2 Schumachers up there in the press conference at the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. Not a bad day for you.
No, it couldn't go a little better, I think, because it was a pity that Ralph lose second place. And this was what I want to see, you know, Michael first, Ralph second, or maybe Ralph first and Michael second, but now things are happening and I'm very, very, very happy.
You've been working with Michael since the days of Formula 3. What will this win mean to him here for Ferrari?
Well, we have not won for Ferrari here in Hockenheim. We always had a few little problems. And this is fantastic to win in Hockenheim in German Grand Prix because of all the fans, and you see the atmosphere. It's great, you know, it's unbelievable when he comes in the Motordrome and the driver can feel it. You can ask him later on, and he always says to me it was a sensation to come in here and feel all the spectators, you know, shouting and yelling, and it's unbelievable nice.
5 World Championships under his belt, but his motivation has not changed at all.
Not at all, because I think Michael is motivation by himself, you know. He don't need a motivation. He likes what he is doing, and this motivation enough. And he's a race driver with all his heart, and you can see it on the podium, you can feel it wherever he goes. And I hope it stays like this for the next 20 years.
And imagine how many caps and T-shirts you're going to sell now.
Well, I hope a lot.
Thank you very much, Willie. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
He's been smiling since Formula 3 days, hasn't he?
Yeah, going to say, yeah, I hope we're going to send a lot of caps and T-shirts. I hope a lot. Yeah, I hope a lot. I tell you, what a great position to be in. You've got the two greatest guys in motor racing, not far off anyway, certainly in Michael's case. And he's got both of them, and he's had them all the way through. And you're right, how many German caps are going to be sold with that 5 stars on? Good time to bring out a new hat, wasn't it?
Can you imagine the conversation 15 years ago? Hello? Yeah? Schumacher? Well, I'll give you a try.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. OK, another German who's tried today and come out with a point, Nick Heidfeld.
Nick, absolutely amazing to see you not sweating.
Yeah, thank you.
But this is more you than anything else. You don't sweat very much, do you?
Exactly. I mean, some people sweat a lot, some don't. It doesn't actually mean that you're not fit if you sweat and that you're very fit if you don't sweat. But actually, I would say that I'm fit.
How tough was it out there today?
It was okay. It's not such a difficult circuit physically. The temperatures were quite high, but it was quite easy also. The car was quite well balanced. A bit too much understeer, but 4 ways was good.
So you had a bit of a moment on the grass at one point. Tell us about that.
Yeah, coming into the Motordome, I don't know if there was oil or if I simply did a mistake. I was happy just to come back on the circuit and not throw away the point.
And very interesting early laps there with Trulli holding everybody up.
Yes, I mean, there was a big twain and we lost a lot of time there. Actually, also, Felipe managed to get past on the first lap because I was on the outside on the second. And then he had to let me by. But in the end, I was a lot quicker.
Why did he have to let you by? Team orders?
Yeah, I just said on the radio that I was a lot quicker. And when I was passed, I just went away.
Very good drive, Nick. Well done. You got the best from the car today.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody thanks me for not sweating, I'll be more than impressed. Yeah, thank you, it's no problem, I'm not sweating. But no sweat for that lad, no sweat for Schumacher. Very quick answer, will somebody catch him this season? Will somebody catch him by the end of next season?
What, Michael? Absolutely, they will beat him this season too. The motivation is there, and that's what's the beauty of the sport right now. He is totally motivated, and that means everybody else is motivated to beat him, because if they do, they're just as good as him for that day.
OK, it was an eventful race. They've been eventful races all the way through the season, but there's always been a consistent theme, and he wears a red helmet and wears a red tunic. Another slice of history is made. Can Michael Schumacher go on and make it 10 wins in a season to claim the outright record? We'll find out in 3 weeks' time in Hungary. If you've enjoyed our coverage of the German Grand Prix, remember a season ticket is now available. You can buy your pass to all of the rest of the season's races right now. To purchase, ring 08702 418 111 or wait till we're off air and press the red button. £50 is the cost, and for that you get access to all the remaining races and all the interactive features for the rest of the season. Don't forget, the teams now have a 3-week break, so we're not back until Thursday, August the 15th. Sky Sports 1 has a preview for that race at 7, and here on Channel 434 we have practice sessions 1 and 2 on Friday starting at 9:30. On Saturday it's practice 3 and 4, that starts at 7:30 in the morning, followed by qualifying at 11:30. Sunday has warm-up at 8, and that includes the next round of the Porsche Super Cup. Then the race build-up starts at midday. My thanks to Jonathan and Peter, to John Watson and Ben Edwards for the Super Channel commentary. It may be all over as far as the championship is concerned, but no one seems to have told Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher's won the German Grand Prix. 2 Williams on the podium, though. That should please technical director Patrick Head. He was very upset after the last Grand Prix in France. I reckon he'll be in a better mood here.
Patrick, that's much more like it, isn't it?
Yes, we've still got a problem with one of the red cars in front of us, but yes, Magny-Cours was a weak performance, and that was a lot stronger, so we've got to try and build on that.
Can you just clear up what happened to Ralph at the end? It looked like they were fiddling with the computer system, but I understand it was actually a pneumatic problem.
Yeah, there was a progressive loss of air pressure on the pneumatic system, and BMW played the call that it was safest to call him in and give it a recharge, but pity for Ralph, but at least he's still on the podium.
And it was a very brave decision not to change his tyres after you'd seen what happened to Raikkonen.
We were pretty certain that Raikkonen's problem was caused by a puncture, and we didn't think we had the same problem. Our car's much lighter than the McLaren on its rear tyres.
Yeah. So Ralf Schumacher having to be satisfied with 3rd place, Tony. He was very upset, though, wasn't he, with Jarno Trulli, made his feelings known.
Yeah, he was. He felt that he'd been balked unnecessarily, and this is a case of drivers having to be really alert of what's going on behind them. But also at the same time, there's the shake of the fist from Ralph. And of course, at this point, you know, he's charging down in 2nd place. He's needing to put that time in, and it's a drive-through penalty for Jarno Trulli. Now, this is another problem for Ralph because he's been out there setting fastest laps, trying to close the gap on his brother for the pit stop. And there is Villeneuve struggling back with engine problems, we presume, getting in the way of Ralph. He'd had a 21-second lead at that point, or cushion, coming into this pit stop. He lost 3 or 4 seconds behind Villeneuve. A great shame for Ralph.
I had an email about those blue flags from Peter Young in Nottingham. He says so many drivers were shown blue flags today. What exactly is the rule? How many corners can you go around before getting a penalty? What's the story, Tony?
Well, it's ultimately at the discretion, obviously, of the FIA and the race director and Charlie Whiting and Herbie Blash are watching carefully. But if you've ignored 2 blue flags, you get the 3rd one, then you'll come straight in. But basically, if you get motionless, it means there's a guy behind you who wants to pass. If it's waved at you, get out of the way quickly.
Okay, by the way, on the ITV F1 website, you can chat live with Martin Brundle, putting on a bit of overtime Wednesday lunchtime on the ITV F1 website. It happened a little bit similarly there. It probably didn't affect the result of the race. Pit stop, Ferrari, problems for Rubens, clockwork for Michael.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's a rig for each driver, and as we've already said, the Intertechnique refueling equipment is standard. You're not allowed to touch it. What you are allowed to do is maintain it, and the teams maintain it meticulously. What happened there is the fuel seemed to go in, didn't go in. The nozzle not going on quite square, the little needles come across and refuses to lock in. Different set of equipment for Michael Schumacher, and like it's been all season through, no problems whatsoever for him, and he just sails through to win the German Grand Prix.
When we leave the studio, there'll be a lot of red faces because of the sun. There'll be a lot of smiling Germans as well, won't there?
Tremendous. I mean, big homecoming for them. But I think what we should remember here is Ferrari have said, we're not stopping, we're not giving up. The work we do now on the 2002 car is all going towards the 2003 car. We'll have a better season in 2003 because of this.
Little holiday for everybody involved with Formula One now. Tony, just briefly, finally, would you fancy Michael to get that 10th win in Hungary in 3 weeks' time?
I think McLaren will be very strong there because this is a race they've predicted because of their very light chassis and because of all the work there, they should be very good indeed. But don't forget, while the race teams all have a holiday, all the engineers will be working hard back at the base.
Thanks, Tony. Hockenham.
See. Yeah, I'm going to start. Okay, Kimi Räikkönen, it was a very interesting race for you, not very fortunate but very interesting, una corsa non molto fortunata ma interessante. Allora parliamo subito del duello con Montoya. What about the duel with Montoya?
No, it was good fun. For sure, I know that he couldn't get past me at one point, but I tried to keep him behind as long as possible, but they was quite a bit quicker than us today and he got past me.
Ovviamente dice si è divertito, è stato un bel divertimento tenerlo dietro per un po' fino a quando ha potuto, c'era un solo punto dove poteva attaccarlo e superarlo e lì è stato. What happened then with your tires? Cosa è successo poi con quella gomma?
Just a rear tire blow up puncture and the race was gone on that point, but there was just a bad luck.
Sì, dice è stata solo sfortuna, appunto una foratura conferma. What about your future? Will you be the main rival of Michael in the next year? Sarai tu il più grande rivale di Michael l'anno prossimo, insieme a Montoya ed altri?
Hopefully, but this depends from many different things. You need to get right package, everything needs to work right, and because Ferrari gonna be strong next year also, and Michael, but if we get all sorted out, I don't see a point where we cannot beat them.
Thank you very much, Kimi. Ovviamente ha detto che...
Juan, good job, good race, and I think you were fighting hard. It was a quite exciting battle with Kimi.
Yeah, it was exciting battle with Kimi, and it was good that I kept, teams I just push. I push all day long, and the other guys had the problems, and it's amazing, it's, out of the last 6 races, my worst qualifying, and it's my best result.
Frank said in the press conference this weekend that you always get the last bit out of the car, and he loves every second of it.
Well, you have to, that's what I'm here for, and that's what I'm trying to do every time.
Summer break now, holiday?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
A little bit of disappointment by missing a point so fractionally, but it looked like an eventful race for you, didn't it?
I think it was a very good race for me. My job I did, and I did a very good race from the beginning and to the end. And my car, to be honest, it was really difficult to drive because I was quite nervous. But I would like to finish in the point, but I have to accept.
Okay. We cannot wait to go on a holiday. How's that with you?
I can go to the holiday. I have 2 weeks to put my head in the bed and sleep, because this is the most important things that I can do. And
but you will be going home to Brazil, right?
Yes, I go today to Brazil, and it's okay.
It's cold in Brazil now, is that right?
No, it's okay. It's a little bit less than here, but.
The race, you seem to didn't like the new track. At the end, you finally made it. So how did you make friends with the track?
The car did, not me. It was a Saturday weekend. We had a lot of understeer, oversteer, anything you want. And today probably was best car I had in all weekend.
2 weeks spare time. How do you try to relax?
Jet skiing, going to Miami, go karting, stuff like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was going well for us, and just hanging on to them. But yeah, first time this year we've had a problem like that in the race.
How do you think the Michelin Bridgestone battle is stacking up?
Obviously, I can see a few Bridgestone people coming back our way. Saw the 2 Renaults in big trouble because I know they're on the soft. And the 2 Toyotas are in a bit of trouble as well, so we picked the right tyre, but difficult to keep up.
Bad luck, Mark.
Thanks, guys.
Alan McNish joined the list of those who've dropped out. He joins us now live. Alan, Ove Anderson wasn't too sure what had happened and certainly wouldn't say anything at all. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, it was a hydraulic problem. As soon as I left the pit lane, it didn't accelerate correctly, and there was, well, basically it stopped at the end of the straight.
How are things going up until then? What were your thoughts about the revised Hockenheim ring during a race?
Well, it creates overtaking opportunities, and that's a very good thing. And also, because it was quite slippery, a lot of people were making mistakes. The other factor was that there was a big tyre decision, and I think from our point of view we made the correct decision, and the race was just going to come to us the further on it went.
Alan, Jonathan Green here. I know it is the silly season, you know it's the silly season, and these problems that you're having, these silly problems in many ways, you just want to race and prove that you're able to stay there. It must be so frustrating for you, week in, week out, having these problems.
Well, I wouldn't say week in, week out we've had these problems, but certainly we have had some problems in the races and reliability in the last few, that's clear. At the end of the day, I think it's pretty clear I've proved my point. And we do want to race, there's absolutely no question about it. There's 6 races to go, and we've just got to get out there and do it.
Well, we hope you do.
Alan, thanks very much for your time. Good luck for the rest of the season. While we were talking to you, Alan, we saw this happen to Olivier Panis and his BAR. And yet another victim of what's proving to be a very, very tough circuit.
Yeah, it looked like a transmission seizure or something. It just flipped round on him there, no drive. Not a good scene. But again, Olivier having problems.
Let's get the detail on that now then from Peter.
Yes, very well called, Jonathan. Exactly what happened. You had a transmission problem, complained about something in the gears and spun as a result. A lot of despondent faces here at BAR Honda because they're having a great day, set for potential points there. They're on the right tyre. Well, they're on a better tyre than some of their opposition. And reliability certainly taking its toll here at the German Grand Prix in this heat. Jarno, you made a brilliant start, but what happened thereafter?
I don't know exactly, because one set of tires, the first set, gone completely wrong. Probably I had a big blister from the rear. I was losing 2-3 seconds from a normal pace, so I had to stop, put another set of tires.
How long into the race did this happen? How many good laps did you have?
The first 4 or 5 were alright, but then I was very slow, and I had to come back to the pit, change the tires, go back, and then the second set was definitely much better.
And what caused your retirement?
And then I had a drive-through penalty, and then behind Giancarlo, I was caught by the yellow flags. Giancarlo braked, and I went off.
And there was a bit of an incident with Ralf Schumacher too when he was passing you.
Well, I let him go completely, so I don't understand why I had a drive-through penalty. At the hairpin, I just moved away.
Very hot today. In retrospect, I guess the harder of the tyre was the right choice, eh?
Maybe yes, probably. But it's very strange because the second set we didn't have any problem.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, what can you tell us about Kimi's tyre problem?
It's just simple tyre failure. Obviously, you can jump to the conclusion it's a puncture, but I mean, it was just a tyre failure. Difficult to say why at the moment.
That must be a worry for you.
Not really. You know, obviously, there's lots of cars running on Michelin tyres. One single failure like that doesn't put you into a big panic. Maybe ran over something.
Very good early phase of the race for Kimi. Is his car damaged slightly as a result of that?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. He's lost the left-hand rear brake duct, so he's got a braking problem, which is making life a bit difficult for him.
I should be more informed about this, but how did DC manage to lose so much time?
He was trapped behind a Benetton.
So no other dramas?
Probably not.
Amazing that did lose him so much time.
I know, but you know, they obviously had a very severe, any of the Michelin tyres runners that ran on the softer option tyre really suffered with blistering, and it really caused David any chance of a better position. But I have to say, the Williams doing a better job here than us. But
interesting that they didn't change tyres on Ralph's car then. Did you change on DC?
We had a couple of blisters, so it was a prudent change, but not really necessary.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Pedro de la Rosa, you must be very upset. A terribly short race for you today.
Yeah, it's been a bad weekend. I was in the back straight in 7th and lost the drive, so we are not sure what happened, but very strange. We haven't had our weekend. We were thinking a lot in this race, especially I chose the hard compound. I was always thinking about the temperature and not blistering the tires, maybe, you know, being strong in the race, and very short, so not happy, but nevertheless, this is motor racing, yeah? I mean, I haven't had a good run lately.
Now, you have one extra week between this Grand Prix and the next one, the Hungarian. Is there much testing planned?
No, there's no testing, and we just have to try to think a little bit what has gone wrong and what can we do better in the future, and just keeping our options open and pushing. You know, the only thing we can do now is keep working, never mind what happened today.
Tough luck, Pedro. Thank you. Open it now, because he's about to go inside. Jensen, very frantic race, quite fraught early on, and now you're here at the sideline. What was the problem?
We had lots of different problems. I can't just put it down to one. I had a lot of understeer at the start of the race. I think it was caused by the diff. I had a lot of understeer, and we had a lot of errors on that side. And then I had a loss of power, and the only way of getting the engine back to normal pace was to turn the traction control off. So there's lots of things going on, and you know, in this heat with the tyres very hot, without traction control, it was very difficult to drive. And you know, a couple of laps ago, we just had a failure. I don't know what it was, and it just cut out.
Tough luck. Thanks for talking. Congratulations, 6 points. Well, 6th place and 1 point.
Yeah, 6 points would be better, but obviously I'm happy with scoring 1 point today, starting from 10th position.
Now, during the race, there were a lot of drivers to fight with. How did you find the circuit? First time racing here on the new Hockenheim. Do you think it's better for racing than the old circuit, or not so good?
I think compared to all the other circuits, it's really good, but to top last year's or the old Hockenheim is really difficult with the long straights. Overtaking was even easier, and I preferred the old circuit, but actually it was quite a lot of fun.
Well done. Thank you. Takuma Sato, a long, hot race for 8th place. You pleased with the result?
Yeah, pleased for the result, and nice and sunshine, and very good result to me, because the best result so far, you know. And there was an exciting race in the beginning. There was really up and down, but I could recover, overtook some people. That was very enjoyable. And then the second stint working very good, but unfortunately the third stint, last stint was a little bit, seems to be, lost stability, and difficult to bring the car, but I kept going, and that was a great result to me.
But early in the race, you touched on the fact there was lots of racing. Did it remind you of your Formula 3 days? Because this track seems to have produced a lot of racing, which is the whole idea about it being redesigned.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. We really enjoyed the racing. I think all of the drivers, it's a really good opportunity to do something, and obviously you've probably seen a couple of the people overtaking. That was great, and obviously 3000 Formula 3 same, That was a great circuit, I think.
Takuma, well done. Thank you. Some extremes for you, an excellent battle with Juan Pablo Montoya early on, and then the problem with the tyre going.
Yeah, it was quite good start of the race. We got 4th place on the start. Good battle with Montoya, but then the tyre blew up after her first pit stop.
You then went back out and carried on racing, but you were well down the order. Then right at the end, you had the spin. Was that just because your tyres went off, or was there some dirt on the circuit?
No, it was the tyres went off and the car was quite difficult handling. Maybe it's damaged something when the broken tyre was hitting the floor or something. But in the end, this doesn't really make any difference. You finish the race in 13 or not finish.
Kimi, tough luck. Thank you.
So don't you think a brake that was damaged when you have it?
Enrique Benoldi, a long, tough race, but not quite long enough for you.
Yeah, the car had an engine failure until the first pit stop was going a good race for the conditions, and I could come back from the back of the field. But I had a quite low wing, so it was very difficult to drive in the stadium.
But you said, you touched on the subject, it was a race. It was incredibly close in the midfield where you were racing. Was it really exciting, first time on this circuit?
Yeah, I was really excited. At the beginning we were fighting, and then my group was a little bit back. So then I could see something like 5 or 6 cars going together, and I just pushed hard to catch them. And when we catch them, we start fighting, but I had to come to the pit. So what was nice until it was possible to race with them.
Tough luck. Best luck in Hungary. Thank you.
The engine that died, so that was it.
So then you had to go through the pits, and then you had not so good result.
No, we had a problem then later on. I mean, the race was over anyway. It was 2 laps into the race. I came in, and then we had a hydraulic leak.
It's frustrating, there's no question about it. We had a car that was actually coming to us. At the beginning, some of the Bridgestone runners were very quick. I think they started new tyres, but the Michelins really started to work towards the end of the stint.
You soft on hard?
We were actually on the soft one.
Olivier, exactly?
Exactly, I don't know, but I think so. It's the engine failure or gearbox failure.
It looked like the Bridgestones were having the better tyre here.
Well, it's going well, to be honest, and yeah, everything going well. I'm in the 6th position. I'm quite happy with the car, but at the end of the day, it's a technical problem.
Why do these things happen, Enrique?
I don't know.
What happened?
The engine blew up.
The race was tough, I think. A lot of fights going on, the tires, a lot of problems for you as well.
Yeah, the race was quite fun because was a lot of cars together, and I had a little bit less wing than I think anybody else, so I was struggling on the braking a little bit.
What can you do to change it for the coming Grand Prix?
I don't know. If I would know, I would be much quicker the next one.
Enrique, you had a good fight with Raikkonen.
Yeah, it was good. It was a screw my race, but it was fun.
Oh, but did it screw your race? No, I don't think so.
But, after everything that happened, finish second was brilliant. I couldn't expect anything else. But I think we could have fight with Ralph and Rubens. I was quicker than Rubens, and when I was pushing, I was quick as Ralph, so it would have been a good race.
In the beginning, it looked like Bridgestone had the better tire.
Yeah, a little bit, but it seemed their blister were a lot quicker than us, and I think that came into play.
What do you have to change? You started on 4th place or not at pole position. Good result. What has to be done in Hungary?
I don't know, but it's quite funny. Last 5 races I was on pole, and my best result was 3rd. And now I qualified 4th and I finished 2nd.
So you have to be on the grid on the 2nd row again?
Yeah, 2nd. I'm trying to find out which one is the best place to start.
You had a good fight with Trulli.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know what Trulli was fighting for. Maybe for the green banana today. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I think he didn't watch into his mirrors, but he paid the fine for it.
Yeah, okay, but I think when a driver sees that he has been overtaking, he should look in his mirrors.
Well, it's very simple. That's what the rule do say. But some of us seem to have seem to have some difficulties with that.
So only 9 make it past the checkered flag at the German Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher delivering at Hockenheim just for a change. The world champion in a different league once again. Ralf Schumacher demoted to 3rd after 3 stopping. Both Williams, though, on the podium. Excellent. Barrichello 4th, hampered by that pit stop. Coulthard 5th, lapped by the winner as well. Heidfeld, the 3rd German in the points. As the champion passes 3 figures, Montoya hits the front of that compelling tussle for 2nd place. Ralf Schumacher leapfrogging Barrichello. Coulthard is still 5th. 13 more points for Ferrari in their relentless charge for the Constructors' crown. Good scoring for Williams puts them odds on for 2nd as the Ferrari dominance continues.
How much does that mean to you to return to your home country as champion and then win it?
It means a lot to me. I mean, for the reasons you said, but probably more for the reasons because I haven't been able to do this ever since I'm in Ferrari.
It's been amazing, 7 years since you won here, but now on a very different track. Was it a good race?
Yeah, it was a very entertaining race, very hard, very difficult. The first stint in particular with tyres and very tight, so I got a bit concerned. Whereas before I thought we could have a good edge on the Williams. It turned out to be very close.
Juan Pablo, did you enjoy your little battle with Kimi?
Yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun.
Nice to have some wheel-to-wheel racing.
Yeah, I think he's a really hard racer, and I lost most of my time there, but it was it was good. It was really interesting.
Ralf, it was a very solid result, but it really should have been 2nd, shouldn't it?
Well, yeah. Sometimes you have luck, sometimes you don't, and it wasn't a particularly lucky day. And anything went wrong today, whether it was blue flags, trying to overtake people, trying to come into the pits. and had the engine problem at the end, so everything went a bit wrong. But nevertheless, still third place.
It was a good way to make up for the French Grand Prix, at least, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it put the positions of the team right again. You know, being back in second now, so we're on a reasonably confident second now again. So we'll look forward to the next races.
Rubens, you must be feeling very disappointed today.
Oh, very. I mean, I had many problems today. I mean, it was kind of enjoyable the first part of the circuit, the race, because you know Ralph in a way was catching Michael, and you know I was struggling a little bit, but I was going with him. It was we could almost do him on the pit stop. After that, I just started to have small little problems. I had a brake problem that it was a little bit long, and I had no water inside of the car, and it was a bit of a struggle the whole afternoon, and then eventually the pit stop problem you know, it was the final one.
What actually happened there?
The fuel hatch didn't open for some reason. We have to see what happened there, because I lock up the brakes coming into the line, and then something happened that we don't know yet.
Well, Tony, mixed views from some of those drivers about the new Hockenheim, but we saw some wonderful racing here today.
The circuit really lived up to its reputation. It was a theatre of entertainment. There were some great dices, particularly between Kimi Räikkönen and Juan Pablo Montoya. This dice for fourth place. Now these, in my mind, are the two crown princes of the sport. Two cut and thrust racing drivers, most exciting prospects for the future. Kimi at just 22 and then a 26-year-old Colombian. But this is it, the cut and thrust. It's very, very accurate, so it's done with a degree of trust. Just look at that, inches apart. So they come side by side into the stadium, inches apart, and they're just dueling away. They won't give up at all. And this is Williams against McLaren. Sir Frank has said we're not doing a good enough job at the moment, but Juan Pablo Montoya does it there and got the place.
Up front, the leaders were away and gone down the field, though. We had that 9-car scrap, didn't we?
Well, this is what I was saying about this circuit. Look how wide Herman Tilke has designed it, promoting overtaking and down into the hairpin here. Just like Malaysia, where he has a similar hairpin, just like Magny-Cours, and you saw Massa getting inside Trulli there, you saw Bernoldi there, you saw Villeneuve, saw Fisichella, all in that wonderful 9-car crocodile.
We started off with both Schumachers on the front row. The crowd here wanted a Schumacher 1-2, but Ralph a little bit unlucky and a bit upset at Jarno Trulli.
Well, Ralph had been closing in on his brother, and then he was getting bought by Jarno Trulli, who'd been into the pits, come out in 17th place, seemingly ignored the blue flags and got a drive-through for that, and he also got a shake of the fist from Ralf Schumacher. And later on, Michael had been in for his pit stop, so Ralph was out getting the hammer down, he's going in towards the pits, and then he comes across Villeneuve struggling back with a spluttering Honda engine, we believe at the time, and he's losing 4 or 5 seconds. He had a 21-second cushion at that point for the pit stop. He lost 4 or 5 seconds, and more problems for Ralf Schumacher.
Kimi Räikkönen's having a very, very impressive season. Very unlucky last weekend in France, and just what happened to his tyre here today?
Well, the high temperature there, 180 miles per hour, was it a puncture or was it because of the high temperature, the high pressure? Did it pop just like a balloon? And this happened to Häkkinen 3 years ago on the long straight here at 200 miles per hour. This has happened, we've seen in the past, to Nigel Mansell in '86 in his championship challenge where the tyre totally delaminates. He hadn't changed his tyre at the pit stop, but there will be a big investigation by Michelin.
They'll be partying throughout the night here and saluting and celebrating Michael Schumacher's latest triumph.
Well, it is tremendous. It completes the homecoming. It also completes his dream. Part one of the dream was to get pole position, and now he's got his second ever German Grand Prix win in front of his beloved fans.
A very significant race for Williams with both drivers on the podiums after some lean weeks, really.
But it's also that scrap for second place in the championship as well, with the drivers all being so close. And Rubens having problems later on with his pit stop dropped him, you know, off of the podium. So I think Frank will manage a smile tonight.
I'm sure he will. Tony Jardine, thank you very much indeed. OK, our next race, we go to Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix on the weekend of the 17th and the 18th of August. Qualifying live from 11:30 on the Saturday. Our pre-race show from just after midday and highlights round about the same time at 11:45. We now take a 3-week break from Formula One. Knowing Michael Schumacher, he'll probably be in the gym every day. Good night.
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address, sponsored by Toyota, is itv.com/F1.
I'm Alan. Welcome to Verspelen with Alan. Next race is Hungary. It's going to be a tricky one. It's a very slow circuit. It's got a lot of off-camber corners, quite bumpy, very dusty. And I think that the race itself is going to be one of the most physical races of the year. It's going to be hot as well. Usually it's 30, 35 degrees, very, very humid, and one that the drivers don't necessarily like too much. However, saying that, I think all the spectators like it. There's a heck of a lot to do in Budapest on a Saturday night. Unfortunately, we'll be up in bed trying to get our rest before the Sunday. I look forward to seeing you there. I look forward to having a good race, and I'll try and give you a wave, but I might be a bit too busy.